The previous champion was Ryan, right?
Yeah, and he ate him for breakfast.
I mean,
it was a
hard game. Ryan was experimenting with the Ghost Fleet list.
Jazz.
But I mean, that list was terrifying. But yeah, I 100% agree with what you were saying, that people just need to sit down and learn their factions and learn a lot more about the game at the moment. We're in the early days, and it is Doom Train o'clock. Everything is broken if it's at the top. And
I mean,
obviously that's not true.
If I'm slightly more positive, then the world has to worry, because I am the negativity train and I pulled into station.
That's why I was so surprised you were on my side for this.
I know. Because I can see how some people, I can see how people win. I've seen how people win. It doesn't interest me anymore. It doesn't make me want to go to. I want to go now to tournaments to have fun and see people that I don't see very often. Once a year is not enough, basically, to see some of these people. And I want to just have fun. I want to put models on the table. I want to give someone a competent game. I don't want to fucking.
Welcome to being a PG.
Yeah. I thought PG was you didn't play the game at all, and you
just lose the tournament drive. You understand it. You know exactly what's going on. You know, if you really wanted to and you wanted to put the effort in, you could do it and place with the big boys. But actually, you'd rather just have a fun, enjoyable game.
Well, I've seen what happens when people do try and place, and they don't seem like they're having fun when it doesn't go well.
No, it's not. It's competitive. Competitive tournaments in the everything takes the fun out of whatever you are doing, whether that's esports, whether that's miniatures on a table, whether that's tennis or football. You can be guaranteed that if you are playing a top competitive level, it's not as fun.
I didn't like how that conversation then did dogpile that guy who was quite a naysayer, that Krieg, whatever his face was.
So I did. This was a Facebook from yesterday. Yeah, I didn't see that. Okay. I saw the fallout from a couple of screenshots, but I mean,
I didn't like that, and I didn't. And that's been happening. That happened before SmogCom, and so
I will say that the person in question has been a fairly frequent, not adversary, but a fairly frequent kind of opposite side of the coin to me on Twitter, in that I find that of the people who are likely to be negative, he's usually one of the ones that's on the more negative side.
It doesn't invalidate his opinion, though.
Everyone has an asshole. Everyone has an opinion. Don't have to talk about either of them.
Yeah, I mean that is true. It doesn't invalidate the opinion. I would say some of the stuff that he said previously, perhaps doesn't negate it, but shows that opinion is. It's had the bicycle pump shoved into it and pumped up a few times.
It's been inflated and it's been exaggerated potentially. I mean, we don't know. We don't see his meta.
Yeah,
he did join on the. He was more negative than I was willing to be during the negative times.
Yeah. So, but I think we should perhaps move away from that now.
Yeah.
A bit more, more positive. It was just a podcast of positivity.
Well, we were just preempting that the is a Signar busted discussion is going to happen, and I was just saying that I'm ready to take you all on because
have you not looked in Facebook today?
And then Benj backed me up, and I was really confused
because I think people will crack it eventually. People will. It just takes time, and I think people are too. You know what tipped me over? The Menoth forums, and this is reasonable Benj here. Because someone was right. Someone pointed out Harby, and Harby has been one that I've been shitting on quite frequently from a great height. But I can see that she's got a place, and I could see the arguments against the guy that was very negative about her, and I can see the arguments for and against, and she is still quite. Her feet is not the best, but she's still got game. And she just does different things now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
as I've said all the way along, that is the biggest thing that you have to learn about Mark III. Whatever you thought about what stuff's roles were in Mark II, you have to look at it again.
If you said back in Mark II that people would be playing Striker 1, Kara Sloan, and Darius at a top level, we would have laughed at you.
Yeah.
At the start of Mark III, apart from Kara Sloan, you told them that Striker 1 and Darius were viable, they would have laughed at you.
And if you'd said to them that Crow's Cutthroats would lose abilities and also become one of the mainline units of Mercs, people would have laughed you out of the building. Because in Mark II, they're okay. Bit naff at times, but okay. In Mark III, it's like, yeah, I've got 6 of these. They're going to prevent your caster getting on this objective for the game. So it's a different ball game out there now.
It's a whole new war.
Yeah, they were right. And I think we actually now might be starting to turn that corner where more people are going, oh, actually, yeah. Okay, I can get where this has gone now. Because it seems to have been the last couple of weeks, there's been more and more people that I know going, okay, I'm back in Mark III, and yeah, I think I get it now.
2017 is going to make things even more interesting.
Oh, that new steamroller.
Oh, I mean, the faction I want to be with that new steamroller is Retribution, because they are the most balanced faction for Warjack solos units.
Combined arms.
Yeah, they are the most combined arms currently. Every other faction is going to have to find this balance to play scenarios if this is what's happening. But Retribution don't have to adapt that much.
Mercs are mostly there, but that's only because the jacks are so cheap they're taking a pile of them. So...
The problem with Mercs is keeping the jacks alive when they go stand on an objective, right?
Yeah. Because then the Electro Chicken comes in and goes, I see you have 3 Warjacks. I see you have no Warjacks. Oh, well, I know, man. Admittedly, that was with Chromac too, so... Yeah.
Benj.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you like attending events to see people and kind of have a chat and stuff, you should come and press gang at the ETC.
When is the ETC?
1st and 2nd of July in Cardiff.
Cool. If you need a press ganger.
It's in Cardiff, sorry.
In Cardiff.
Yeah, it moved this year.
Yeah.
Yep. But I'll be putting out the PG signal at some point in the not too distant future.
Instead of Team Elite Cadre, you'll have PG Team Elite Cadre.
Huh? The world doesn't need this.
Oh, we're not that bad.
Alex,
oh, you think so, Benj?
Hey,
Benj and Nick show up. Kurt will have family affairs.
I must admit that did knacker me this week, just this weekend gone, and I don't think I've properly adjusted. And I can't do these hours anymore.
I mean, I'm going to apologise for my part in that. Obviously, I pulled out with a few weeks to go due to a work commitment, but
a few weeks ago, we didn't know whether. When I spoke to people,
other issues, but yeah,
I know. We didn't know if you were showing up at all. Actually, over the weekend,
I appeared. I came up at the last minute. I came forth at the death of the Khan to strike the final blow and drag its carcass back with me.
Oh, that's still sad.
Okay, if you want to put it that way, that's grand. Worrying, but grand.
I will forever have Smog Khan on my wall, my prize.
It's nice. I've actually just realised you can pop out the YouTube chat, so I can see cool. People. That's weird.
We have people.
Yes, we're being watched by Byron Lyles, David Bartley, this bloke called Nick Topham, and Chris Young.
And Matt Townsend. You missed Matt Townsend.
Oh, and Matt Townsend.
You know, he's not always there when we think he is. I asked him about this.
Pretty sure he is.
No, he said I wasn't there that time. You know, and usually each episode we go, And of course, that was Matt Townsend just sitting there through all of our banality. And then he's like, "No, I have a life."
I mean,
That's a lie, and we know it.
Benj is actually quite happy today, Chris. I don't know what he's done to the water, but let's hope it keeps up.
I'm painting Kozlov right now.
Ooh.
So
Back on the Cadre train?
I don't know what train I'm back on. I just wanted Kozlov, and I didn't want to buy a battle box, so I got it. This was during SmogCon, a furious eBay bidding war of pretty much that ended up being half the cost of a battle box in the end. And I was kind of like, oh, bollocks. But then, as I explained to you, I don't want any more bloody Cade or Juggernaut chassis shit.
So, what are we talking about tonight, Mike?
Well, I was thinking we're going to have a chat about SmogCon, which would organically lead into maybe discussing the Grimkin. I don't know why I'm gesturing here. I'm gesturing here because on my screen, that's where the Grimkin stuff is.
And then coming off the peninsula.
Fish cardboard box.
What, man? I thought you were doing weather.
No, not quite. Then I don't know. Maybe have a little chat about potential changes to SR 2017.
I mean, I have to go find those unless you've got them.
What we've mostly seen is fairly simple. So
That's true.
A bit like us. Fairly simple.
A bit like us. Right.
yeah,
Okay.
that's true. Although
Come on.
what's interesting is just before we actually start, the scenario that they showed at SmogCon kind of contradicts something else that's been said elsewhere, which is that flags will be in every scenario.
Yeah, because there weren't any flags at SmogCon.
Flags in every scenario.
Yeah, because they're the only things
Yeah.
that warcasters can control.
To be fair, maybe Hungerford just forgot.
that actually is perfectly valid.
He was doing that entire thing from memory.
Yes, that's true. Oh, sorry, not the only things that the warcasters control. It's something that can only be controlled by warcasters. That's the right version.
Have we had anything other than what's kind of come out over SmogCon weekend confirmed regarding?
Not yet.
SR
A lot of it sounds like it's going to come with the CID.
Have you seen PPS Spagani's?
Yeah, I believe they've discussed some of it in the latest Primecast. I've not listened to that yet, though.
Yes, that's very much because
Because
Primecast was recorded before SmogCon. It's pretty much a discussion of the same terms. But I'll bring up the level thing. Where's it gone? There was a post. Where's it gone? There we go. 2017 spoilers, rumors, and some clarification. So I think that'll actually be an interesting discussion because Steamroller's the heart of the game.
You got steamrolled. Ha 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 ha. Moving on.
Yes.
Alex,
Apparently, we don't say moving on enough anymore.
Alex, you've got a job to do, Alex.
What, he's got to ramble enough that I have to say moving on a lot.
What's that, sorry?
I don't know.
What's my job?
Ending the show so we can leave because that's it.
Okay, you've been listening to the Hot and Watching podcast. It's not very long. I've been Alex.
I've been Benj.
I give up. Man down.
We are a man down, and I feel
Kurt.
bad. I
Yes,
feel bad.
because we decided to podcast impromptu, and this is on the wrong day, and whatever.
I mean, I have internet now, so yay, I return.
Reasons. That's why Kurt's not here. Reasons.
It's a renegade. It's the body of a renegade. That's
It's the
interesting.
body of a renegade, but the head of a mangler.
It's a body of a renegade with no bits attached, and probably don't even own them. That's going on a base somewhere, probably chassis thing.
Oh right, you were actually talking about a model. Fair enough.
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm going through my paint box, which got delivered earlier today, and I'm just rummaging, and there was a jack in there. Oh, bollocks! No, that paint's dried up. Oh God!
See, it was only when I was actually ferreting through my Epic models that I actually found something that I thought had been lost to time, which is my second.
That talent.
Yes, my second Talon. I've got one painted one. It's never been on the table, but
I hear Talons are great.
yeah, I'll work out why later. It's not that I'm skeptical. That's actually the reason. They're okay. Armor 16 with a shield. It's like, haha, I've disrupted your jack, and I'm sitting there thinking, yeah. And then the other two behind come in, mangle the Talon, and you've delayed it a turn. Yay! Anyway. Back once again, Renegade Master. Oh dear.
With the ill behavior, Sorry.
Let's stop the 90s.
Let's stop the 90s. I want to get off.
Let me just put Avril Lavigne on. One sec.
Why you gotta go and make things so complicated?
That's 2000s, Bench.
Was it? What? The two kind of merged into a blur. I was young.
I'm pretty sure that came out while I was at university.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was about the 1980s, wasn't it?
Oh,
What?
that now, Benj. I've had Kev calling me old today as well.
Okay. Well, Avril Lavigne is 2000s. I'll give you that. So I guess in Kurt's honor, having not been here, we'll put Mbop on.
Yeah.
God.
No, that is from the 90s. Don't argue with me.
That's very 90s. Very, very 90s. Right, should we make a start on this whole shebang?
Should that not read? Should we make a start on this train wreck?
Nah.
I mean, I don't think we can afford a train.
No. Yeah, let's get going.
Okay, fair enough.
An advert just popped up on my Facebook for train station, the game on rails. What?
They're listening to
They must be.
you. Hello and welcome to Elite Cadre,
Mike,
the Hordes
sorry,
War Machine
sorry, Mike.
podcast. That
Mike,
Got
what
derailed.
yes, Alex.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about War Machine and possibly Hordes, and maybe, just maybe, we won't be taking it too seriously. It's just a thought, you know. After 79 episodes, I thought we're taking ourselves too seriously. Time to tone it back a little. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, why not? Why not? Get a tagline out of that somewhere.
Fair enough. I'm Mike.
You're not going to start again?
No,
No,
you've interrupted me now. I had a flow going. You know, it's all ruined. Artistic, what's this and all that.
I'm Alex.
Don't all go at once.
Well, there's only two of you left, so
I know,
you know.
but my place is at the end. I know my place.
The end of what, though?
Sesame Street.
Okay. Come on, then. Mystery guest who's got something on their head. By the looks of things.
What's going on?
Lord knows.
We know.
appears to be holding something convergency up to camera. I think.
Can we finish this intro?
Come on, then, Nick.
An angel.
He's Nick.
Clockwork.
He's Nick. He's Benj. Right. Let's move on.
Let's go.
Okay.
I'm glad with that. That's done.
All right, I guess I'm Nick rather than a Clockwork Angel.
Oh, he is. That.
Oh wow, that camera didn't focus very well.
No.
Fuck you, camera. Fuck you.
Oh my God, this is so bad.
Wow, it must be bad if you're saying that.
Yeah, normally that's other people saying it for him. So this week, Elite Cadre is freshly back from SmogCon. We've had a lovely weekend, and we are all.
What's a SmogCon?
I wouldn't say fresh either. I'm pretty stale. I'm gonna say
You're
I
allowed
will
to
get the
shower.
preset.
Benj.
Yes.
I did have showers the whole time I was there.
You've just not had one since because you don't want that SmogCon stench to go for the last time.
No,
and
see,
you
the
can't
thing is,
replace it.
he brushed Hungerford's arm on the way out, and that's why he's not shouting
okay.
anymore.
Oh, I didn't get a chance to talk to Hungerford about my wonderful changes that I had. That Mike rolled his eyes back in the back of his head so hard they lodged there for about half an hour, and he was pronounced dead.
And then I went bowling with them. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, we're back in black.
And better than ever. Yes. So news first of all. First big news: SmogCon is dead.
SmogCon is dead. Long live Lock and Load Europe.
Yes. So the man in charge, John Webb, has made a sideways move, and it is now an official privateer press event starting next year. The final details haven't been fully hammered out, but what we know is expect continuity, expect the same kind of event with the same kind of people helping out.
You're just in time to leave the EU. It would be SmogCon, Lock and Load UK.
Actually, sorry, there is something very important there. It is not Lock and Load EU. It is Lock and Load Europe.
Yeah, I'm getting grief about this for the ETC. Just because we're leaving the EU doesn't mean we're leaving Europe. It's not like we're no longer in Europe. It's not like Canada all of a sudden decides it's no longer part of North America.
Well, tell you what, I'll get a 10 and saw, start at one end, you get one, start at the other, and we can soar ourselves off the continental shelf and drift out into the middle of the Atlantic and, I don't know, be eaten by sharks or something.
Can we drift south so it's a bit warmer?
No, definitely not.
Can we drift away from Wales?
Can we drift away from this train wreck of a conversation?
That is probably a very good idea. So next year, look out for Lock and Load Europe. If SmogCon is anything to go by, it will be a fantastic event again, and well worth it, whether you're a serious tournament player or whether you're someone far more casual and just looking for some fun games.
I mean, to us, this is basically a rebranding thing, right? SmogCon's not going to change at all, apart from Privateer. We now will expect them to be there rather than it being a nicety that they have guests. What this does do, though, is perhaps sparks the interest of more of the European crowd that previously haven't made it over to SmogCon, or even some of the American crowd who will see it in the same light as Lock and Load and make the travel.
I just hope that, I mean, being on a budget, I just hope it doesn't jump around Europe, and we are the base still. As much as I'd love to travel with War Machine, as a lot of people do, I just cannot afford that. And so with Europe, it just makes you wonder whether that will be a thing, but we'll see.
I know for at least next year there are no plans for it to leave the UK.
Okay.
So I don't know about anything further than that. The only things I've kind of had even vaguely confirmed is there will be some continuity. It's not leaving the UK, and vaguely the people who are currently in charge will stay in charge.
I mean, it'd be really sad if it moves out of the UK and it becomes more difficult for us, because it has built up a following over the last 6 years. And if that following can't attend due to it moving, it becomes sad.
It becomes problematic for War Machine in the UK, because it's kind of like the premier UK sort of tournament and billing for the year.
There's something always comes and takes that over, though. So back when I first started, it was the UK Games Expo and Masters that was the prime event, and that moved over and became the ETC, and then now that's become SmogCon over the sort of the past 8 years. We've just had that transition.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Oh, sorry, go on, Max. No, go on.
Well, I was going to say, I think the UK Nationals held a lot of sway for a long time. Then with the changes to kind of the restrictions for Masters, I think we had a lot more Masters events, which kind of took the shine off it a bit. But I agree. I think SmogCon is the first time we've ever had a US-style con over in Europe. Well, I wouldn't say Europe, because I've never really been to many events overseas in Europe, so I wouldn't like to speak for something I've not experienced. But I think, for me at least, it was the first time, I'd say, we've had one of these US-style cons.
No, I think it was probably in Europe. SmogCon was the first to bring it in 6 years ago. I think that wouldn't be unfair to say. As far as we're aware, there might be an event out there that we're not aware of that's done it, but I can't remember hearing of any till about 4 years ago.
Previous to SmogCon, I don't think there was much, but since SmogCon, there's been stuff like ClogCon and various other. I mean, there
were European tournaments, because you had stuff like the Benelux Masters and things like that had quite a big following, but they were weekend tournaments. They weren't.
Yeah. Well, they were the classic British sort of event that was ruling the roost over here, where you would have your one big tournament, everyone would go along, you'd play the whole weekend, and then there'd be one big rankings table at the end, and you go, "Oh, I came 53rd."
Oh, Would he have that voice?
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I can't believe I placed. Dear.
So that's what we've got coming out of SmogCon. We can discuss a few more of our experiences in a bit, I think, on SmogCon.
Can we talk like this the whole way through?
If you want to. I mean, it's up to you.
Okay.
I
can't
could
do
just
it.
make you sound like a chipmunk again in the edit, so that's fine.
Please don't. Is there an edit where that actually exists, by the way?
Yeah.
There may or may not have been a segment where I did do that to Alex.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I did tell him I was going to do it beforehand, but,
Who's gone dubstep?
Alex.
Jesus.
I'm not doing anything.
If there are any audio issues, it's normally Alex.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if he's still using his phone as his dial-in.
No.
But no. Okay. Well,
I'm just going to ask who's got the vibrator in the background.
That is
I was going to ask who's living in an amp, but sure, you take it that way, I'll take it the other.
Phrasing? I don't know. Anyway.
Speaking of vibrators.
Wow, no.
I mean,
just
we're
no.
here to talk about metal things, but that's a different ball game.
Oh.
Anyway, so the big reveal of the weekend. If you've seen,
That's it. This is crashed.
Where's Alex gone?
we're done.
I'm still here.
Oh, good.
The big reveal of the weekend, of course, was the Grimkin faction.
Grimkin. Woo! Gribbly, gribbly, gribbly.
Now, we'd seen a couple of hints and teasers beforehand. Occasional bits of models. I mean, we knew that Old Witch 2 was coming, and not much else. But then over the weekend, PP dropped, well, pretty much everything. We know we're getting everything in CID in 2 weeks. I think it is
2 weeks for CID. 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, it's March, right?
Something like that. Well, March is in about a week and a half. So, in fact, less than that. Damn, time flies. So we're getting everything in CID. So they just kind of unloaded. So,
In your face.
yes. First up on was it Friday evening that we had this?
Yeah.
Or Saturday?
It was
Friday.
Friday at 7:30.
Friday at 7:30, we had the big reveal video. Now, this was nearly 17 minutes of just talk about the faction, video of the models. What do people think of that reveal?
It made up for the first sort of sneak peek that we got at Lock and Load, which was a bit disappointing. Where we just got a bit of concept art and some amateur film study material that might have been cut out of the Blair Witch.
I mean, there was definitely amateur film studies in this big reveal video. Not gonna lie.
There was, but it was a little. The production value increased from $10 to maybe $20.
I will be honest, right? I don't expect anything more than that for a reveal video from a wargaming company. That none of these companies are, have any kind of studio or TV backing behind them. So if they get a nice camera and a couple of props, that's as much as most of them will get.
Yeah.
I guess I'm spoiled working in an industry where we have to do that kind of thing on a very cheap budget, and we put out miracles, I guess. But yeah, so I was maybe overly critical of it. But I mean, the nice things were we got to see a lot of the models. We got to see a lot of what I've been building up, whereas we've had these little teasers for the past, how long has it been now? 8 months?
Something like that.
And we've just had these videos with backwards audio and stuff like that. It was nice to get the full load this time.
Sorry, that buzzing is still there. Could someone do something about that? Alex, could you mute your mic first?
Yes.
When he finds the button. There we go.
Yeah, that's Alex.
Retro.
Let me drop and I'll come back in.
Okay.
Now,
I'll carry on when we come back. So.
now we play the waiting game.
I need to find some
Why
bronze.
has this faction forum become so negative? This sounds like a great read.
Oh.
Oh, is that the Menoth one?
I blame Scorn. Great. Good discussion.
Yeah.
Hello, Alex.
Hello.
Hello, Robot Alex.
I'm not hearing any buzzing.
I just did then.
Alex, talk.
Hello.
Yeah, it's still there.
Is your phone anywhere near your microphone?
Yeah.
Move that.
Any better now?
Yes,
Yes.
100%.
Right. So, anyway, looking back at the video, I was actually very surprised because I honestly expected it to end at least 3-4 times before it did, because I thought, no, they'll never give us this much. And it had that sort of opening segment. I was going, okay, there's some neat stuff here. Okay, well, it's been about 5 minutes. They'll probably stop now. Oh, no, okay, they're going more into the faction fluff. No, this is good. I like this. Oh, okay. Well, they'll probably finish it here. No, they're giving us details on the units. And it just kept going. So it was, as Benj said, it was a really nice kind of thing for those people who'd been there for the original reveal, which I think we all expected a little bit more from. I was fine with it being what it was because, well, anything was a bonus, and I thought the Q&A that came afterwards was nice, but only Europe got that. So this was a nice thing for PP to give to the community. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, you say like the faction reveal bit itself, the video, gave us a lot, and I kind of wish that the original reveal had maybe just given us that story about the 5 Defiers and left it there and left it really open. Maybe not even having to go into the details of them, maybe some concept art of them or something, and just leave it as the story of the 5 Defiers that Menoth threw into Urkane, returning to Kane, and just left it there rather than what they did. Because I think the 8 months of speculation over it would have been much more interesting if we had that nugget to start with and work from.
I mean, it was an interesting set of stories. For those who are kind of unaware of where they come from, as Nick said, there are the Defiers, who were the people who rejected Menoth's law when he gave that gift to humanity, were thrown into the hell of Urkane and spent the equivalent of many millions of years suffering there before finally...
No one really. I don't think anyone ever said they suffered.
No, they did.
Yeah, they did.
That's the whole reason they've got the war beasts. They are the nightmares that they suffered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the nightmares given form, essentially.
Well, the interesting, and this is kind of moving on a little bit, but after the video, there was the next day a 2-hour Q&A with the 3 PP staff, and they said that the war beasts themselves generally are the combination of the fears of 2 or more of the of the Defiers. So you have Flesh and Moans, which is a combination of the fears of the I've forgotten his name, the priest king.
The heretic.
Yes, of the heretic and the king of nothing. Because you've got the whole thing of the king of nothing is meant to be this sort of hermit-like figure who really doesn't want to be around other people. So Flesh and Moans is a gestalt entity where you are forced to be with others as part of this one mass. And at the same point, that's also the fear of the heretic, because he was a priest king. He was, that figurehead, and to have that taken away, to be robbed of his very identity, it's something that torments him. So there are all these combinations of the fears of the Defiers, and I thought that was a really interesting point to make. And if you do look at them, you do kind of get that sense of, okay, there's a story behind each one of these. And if you listen to Primecast this week, that's apparently the development process it took. They figured out what these folk tales of the world would be and worked from there.
I mean, while I was listening to it, all it made me want to do was actually dig up the old Monsternomicon, which then it turns out that I don't have, and I need to get hold of it. Because I know a lot of the stories have been embellished upon in this edition because they weren't as fleshed out. But really does want to make you go back and look at it all again from a different angle, because obviously Hollow Men is the only article that I can remember reading was about the Hollow Men in the Monsters RPG edition.
I loved again the idea behind them. For those who don't know, the Hollow Men, we did actually get a promotional model of those, which was a guard and a bearskin cap, which
The
was
Beefeater.
no, it wasn't a
No,
beefeater.
it's not a beefeater.
Oh
He's
Dear
supposed
God.
to be. He's supposed to be.
It's not a beefeater.
no, it's a
a
different hat
yeah.
and
It's a
uniform and
that's-
literally everything.
It's a bear shaker is what he's wearing. Bearskin shaker.
And what does that have to do with the UK?
Nick, I'm going to come round to your house and punch you in a second.
Are we being
I
trolled?
mean, doors locked, so
I think we are.
Okay.
So, but yes, the Hollow Men, the whole idea of that these are the deserters of the armies, the kingdoms of men, who've wandered away from the battlefield and seen this light in the distance that was just something that reminded them of home. You know, the fireplace of the pub near where they were, the hearth of their homestead, something like that. And they wandered towards this sort of, you know, warm, soothing, calm light, only to find when they get there that it is the Lantern Man. It's kind of, yeah, it's kind of a really neat backstory, and I think that's something that I didn't know had been missing from some new stuff. And it's like, oh, it's another of X. Whereas this time it's like, these have a really cool backstory. Here's what they do. Like, wicked. This is nice. This is a different take on the Iron Kingdoms, whilst still fitting nicely within the fluff.
Is it because of the... Now, this is one of the complaints. Is it because it's a lot of that fluff is now not in the books themselves? It is now part of the Skull Island stuff, which I know myself, and I know a couple of other people haven't read those books at all.
I don't buy the actual rules books anymore anyway. So what I get now, I get through Audible, because that's far easier for me to consume. I've just finished Blood of Kings on audiobook, which was mediocre narrator aside. I'm sorry. I feel it was a poor choice of narrator. Was a really good story, and it's one of those things of you kind of remember exactly what it is the game's meant to represent at that point. I realize I'm getting a bit off topic here, but I don't care.
it's his podcast, and he'll do what he likes.
No, it's our podcast, and I've always made that point. And at some point of it, it's always nice to have something story-driven behind a game.
Well, these are going to be a story-driven force, as you say. What Chris has put into the chat here, he said that apparently they said that the army book is going to be tales of each unit and not a traditional army entry.
Yes. So, for instance, I've actually got a good example for this. One of the new warlocks is the Wanderer. And what they've said is that they're not doing a traditional layout for his pages. What they're doing, in fact, is setting the artwork and having his tale weave its way through, between, over, under, around the artwork, so that to actually read what the Wanderer is about, you are going to have to go on a journey around this double-page spread.
Yeah. Just before we that is an interesting and valid point. We can come to it a bit more. One of the seminars that was on over the weekend by Matt Getz was around the.
You sure that's not goats?
It's Getz, definitely Getz.
Just checking.
Around the faction fiction, going from Mark II to Mark III. Not so much about kind of, hit state of the nation, anything like that. More kind of like the process of how they went through everything, what they've done, and where they've kind of made changes and what have you. The interesting things he said is they are looking to produce reading lists, faction by faction. So if you are collecting Signar and you want to know what's happening in the world of Signar, you will need to read book X, Y, and Z. If you are a Cadre player, then you'll need to read books B, C, and X, and kind of going addressing it that way. So you will know what it is you should be reading, and you have access to that, so you can read it.
That's something I can get behind because
that's actually a nice extension of the stuff they've been doing for the No Quarter complete article list for a long time, which told you, okay, if you want to read the fluff in chronological order, here's where it all is, and so you can piece together where in the timeline all those little stories fall, because some of them are many decades apart.
Just a little bit.
So it's nice to know that they're actually taking more of a concern over that kind of stuff and making sure that new players into the game. So some of them it won't be important for, but some people are absolutely story driven, and to actually have that, that reading list when you come in that says, okay, to know the journey that your faction has taken to reach the point where it is now, this is where you need to have come through.
It can also be like when you find that you click with a character. So, for example, on the tabletop, I very much get on with Kane and Haley, but from a fluff point, I really, really like Kane. So, looking into what books and things Kane's in is fantastic. Obviously, I'm lucky because he's got Mark of Kane and whatnot named after him that make it nice and easy to find where his fluff is.
If you like Kane,
if I joined now and I wanted to read about Stryker and back in the Menoth War, I'd have no clue where to start.
Yeah.
If you like Kane, you'll like Blood of Kings.
Yeah,
I've read Blood of Kings. I've read Blood of Kings. I haven't finished Mark of Cain yet, which is after Blood of Kings. So
I think this month's Audible credits went on book one of the Houselingers. I'll have to check that one.
Fair enough.
So I should have that to listen to. But yes, it is nice. I mean, again, it is. If you click with the character, it's nice to know where does their story come into all this. It's like I know that there's very little of McBain, and I like him as a character, especially.
He's in Blood of Kings.
Yes, he is. Clearly the best bit of Blood of Kings, obviously. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I do have right here my my Chibi McBain pin. So.
Anywhere we can read about Big Ben Syntherion.
I thought I looked at that pin and I was like, that's a bit rubbish. And then I looked at it again and it's just really kind of actually quite cute.
Big Ben Syntherion for the convergence.
Yeah.
It's the fact that he's got the teapot and the teacup.
Yeah.
That just sells it. I mean, Big Ben Syntherion, okay. But then the fact that he's got the mug of tea, yes, okay. You've won me over. Congratulations.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I'm hoping there'll be sort of maybe a second run of them for the US crowd, because I'm sure there'll be a few of our US counterparts who'll quite enjoy getting their hands on that one.
Well, yeah.
There weren't second runs of the Wrong Iron Snapjaw pin.
Oh, good point. Yeah, true.
Oh, if anyone wants to buy that, I have a spare.
So do I. I'm not selling it. I'll trade.
Well, really, you will sell it eventually.
I'll trade.
You'll need it for crack or at some point, like Call of Duty.
I will say as well, there was no second run of the UK Masters pin, although there was a strikingly similar one that was.
A Masters pin, wasn't it?
Yeah, they just removed UK National.
Yeah.
From it, so. But anyway, we've gone off topic of...
we have completely gone off topic. Grimkin! We have loads of info about Grimkin. Do we actually want to talk about all the various info?
I wouldn't say go...
Or should we make people go and listen to Primecast?
Yes. Primecast is an excellent source of information on this. They go through a lot of very interesting stuff. I think that, kind of main points you need to know. That the big one is that outside of Old Witch 2 and 3, note that it's 2 and 3, They don't have feats. They have instead Arcana.
You mean Old Witch 3? Because Grimkin don't have Old Witch 2.
No, they
Who-
do.
who is
No, they
Grim-
don't.
Yeah, they
Okay.
do.
No, they don't. Old Witch 2 is a Cadre caster.
No,
Old
it's
Witch
not.
3
It's
is a
Old
Grimkin
Witch.
warlock.
It's the other way round. It's the other way round.
No, it's not.
It is.
Old Witch 2 is Cadre, and Old Witch 3 is after she opens the gates. They are like Sturgis in that they have the identical stats, have the same feat, and then they have unique spell lists
Okay,
and
yeah.
a different ability.
Okay, regardless, what we were told was the numbers were the other way around.
Okay,
But anyway,
in
I
Primecast,
don't-
they confirm it.
I
the other way.
honestly don't think it matters too much, because it's the same model, just with Warjack and Warbeast replacements.
Yeah.
And she has a feat. She's the only Grimkin Warlock that has a feat. The rest have Arcana, which are triggered abilities. So what this means is that during the opponent's turn, if you're a Grimkin player, you will have it's 3 cards in front of you. One will be your Major Arcana, which is unique to that caster, and 2 of them will be from a pool of 10 you will choose after seeing your opponent's army.
Now, we don't know where this fits in regards to ADR, but as I believe it's after you've rolled for deployment as well, I would imagine it's after everything, which could be very interesting.
Yeah. So what these are, they're triggered by things like, an opponent kills a model with a ranged attack in your control area, or a model with
Well,
a
we can
larger...
talk about one of them that we definitely know, which is, I think you're about to, the Shadow. Really cool name, by the way.
Do you want to go through this? I can't remember the exact mechanism for triggering it.
So for the Shadow, when an enemy model enters melee range of one of yours, as you being the Grimkin player, if the enemy model's base is larger than the model they entered, you can choose to trigger the Shadow. When you trigger the Shadow, you place a heavy war beast into play anywhere within 5 inches of the enemy model that engaged yours. That heavy war beast will last for 1 round. However, it can't advance, but can attack.
And of note as well, you cannot pull Fury off it.
I guess it would go before the Fury. Unless they have found some way to gain Fury in your opponent's turn, it wouldn't have a point where it can.
So, for instance, if they found some way to kill it on your turn, you couldn't get the Fury back from it.
So you would place it during your opponent's turn because they've moved. You would then have your turn. I guess they could kill it in your turn if you had a free strike. Yeah, okay. I wasn't aware of that part. That wasn't discussed on Prime Club.
No, that was one of the things that they were very much at pains to mention in the in the seminar, because it does create some oddities, because there could be ways that you could, for instance, pull Fury off it and end up with your caster having more after upkeeps, and just it could get into very messy circumstances. But yes, being able to place a temporary war beast for a turn, that's unpleasant. Even if it's only just to go, you've charged me with some cavalry. No, just no more. You're getting that one, no more.
Yeah, that could be interesting. I was also thinking that you can just set yourself up for assassinations, because within 5 inches, if their caster's too close, you just place a heavy war beast in their caster's back arc, especially if that caster's already activated this turn.
Yep.
I would be worried. One thing I think they did say with the Arcanas, so as with everything in War Machine, it's and HUD, it's a completely open knowledge game. But when they were originally testing this, they did have the Arcanas as hidden. So you didn't know what they were until your opponent chose to trigger them. And apparently it just made Grimkin hell to play against. Probably Haley 2 back at the start of Mark 2 levels of hell.
Yes, Will Hungerford did say that they were no fun to play against when they were secret, because you had to assume that they had every single one of these traps.
I mean, the only way I could see to balance that would, if they did decide they wanted to have kept it as hidden, would be to force the trigger on them. So the first time it happens, this then happens, but kept the rule that only one Arcana can trigger per turn. Because there is a rule in there, only one Arcana can trigger per turn.
Yes.
So if you choose to trigger the Shadow, you're not triggering your major or your second minor.
Yes, so there are rules about these. Yes, it's one per turn, and when one has gone, that is it for the game. So it's essentially 3 miniature but reactive feats.
Yeah.
So what do we think of this system overall?
I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's a different spin on the game as we know it. I think kind of it's time for a bit of a change and a bit of a mix-up. Kind of see how this goes, and we may see more of this sort of thing in the future. So I'm all for it. I think it could be good.
Got to agree there. I mean, the feat system was starting to get. There were problems with balancing feats, because a lot of what people would look at on the Warcaster were the feat and not necessarily the whole of the army or the whole of its spell list and things like that. Now, they tried to do more unique things recently with the introduction of Warcast units, led to really interesting things like Haley 3 and her ability to bring models into play with their own spell lists and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you look at her feat, it's not fantastic, but when you look at what it comes with, it's amazing. And so they were pushing the boundaries of what they could really do with the feat system. This gives them an option to completely change things up. Arcanas can be very situational, and because it allows that chop and change match to match, it means that you can have things that are ridiculously niche because there is a situation where you'll want to use it. And that's really refreshing. What Alex said about being interesting for the game. Well, something else they said in that Q&A was that they confirmed that Grimkin are a forces. They're not a full faction like Cadre, Signar, Trolls, whatever. They might get future releases. We'll see where that goes. But they did, I believe it was on the forums, it was said faction that they are the first/second of the forces, and that there's going to be more, because they said forces plural, no, factions plural, I think it was, and that more will potentially be coming. And this really excites me, because the idea that Zoo could appear as a small forces or just open or anything in the world. I mean, at this point, I would love Lael to become their own faction, their own little forces, and have a Lael forces book or a Morrowind. Or I mean, there's just it opens the world.
You are going to see those books. It's just that they're going to be coming as part of the mercenary theme books. So there is going to be more in the way of here is a unique thing, because we know that there are going to be things like Laylee's mercenary models who won't work with the current mercenary setup. They won't work in a normal army. That's something they did point out. It was the Menoth one that actually said there will be models coming along that will work in a knightly orders army, not a straight Menoth army. So it's interesting to see where they're going to go with all of that. It has a risk for some overcomplication, some bloat, but I think with stuff like CID, we'll see most of that hammered out before it actually hits.
CID itself is interesting. We don't really talk about CID much. We've mentioned it a couple of times, haven't we? But yes, we've not really gone into it. I mean, the long and short of it is that they are bringing back community-wide playtesting. They've sort of acknowledged that they can approach and playtest internally, but a lot of the problems with factions, or perceived problems, aren't seen until the rules are out in the wide world, and you have thousands of players theorying and practicing, because often you do find that it's that one mind that comes up with something that nobody else thought of, and it shapes everything. So for a long time, it can take a while for that.
So one of the things that was actually talked about, not in any of the seminars, just as a kind of off-the-cuff comment, was that two of the people involved had sat there and play-tested the Cadre theme force for weeks beforehand. They'd played dozens of games, tried to get it in the most broken state it could, and then half an hour after it was out, someone went, yeah, I think I can get Scrapjack into the opponent's deployment zone, turn one. And they went, that works, but we hadn't seen it. What's going on? So that kind of tells you what happens when you release these things into the wild. And I think with community integrated development, they can only improve their offering.
I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, with them changing to the more digital model, the model that you see with your big video games these days, where things are tweaked once they're released. And with War Machine Hordes taking that approach now with a physical miniatures game, the CID is effectively their PTR. This is their public test realm. There's no models to go with this. There's no official cards to go with this. You can access them if you want to. You can proxy them up, and they will encourage you to proxy them up. Obviously, you can't go play in a tournament with them because that's not how this goes. But it does allow you to really put the tests on. And it means that we're never going to get the situation like the WTC was it not last year, the year before, where there was a big change just after lists had been locked, because we're going to see the changes a month or two before they actually happen and have the chance to make sure that these are the right changes.
Yeah.
It also means the Doom trains should hopefully slow down a little bit.
No, it won't. No,
it never will.
Never will.
In an ideal world, you would think that if the world regards something as so broken that you must change faction to play it, that hopefully something would be done to address that.
One can but hope, is all I'll say.
People do love being bitches, Chris. You are correct.
Okay. So, is there anything really too much more? I don't want to go through everything that was said on Primecast. I want to go through model by model. It's nice that we have this reference that Nick has found for us, because some of these just look wrong.
I mean, I'm just going to say my favorite unit in the game exists now, and I don't even care because I'm not sure. I really love the aesthetic of Grimkin. The rules really interest me, but with them being a forces and not a full faction, I'm not sure whether I want to dive in or not. But I will be picking up a unit of Nayslayers because Gremlins riding hobby horses. Fuck yes.
Single wound, small based cavalry, armor piercing. Was it POW 7?
POW 7s, yeah. Just Gremlins on hobby horses.
No. Okay, so I think we've kind of, I think we've gone through most of those. So okay, so now I suppose we can move on to wider talking a bit more about. I would say our SmogCon experiences, but mine and Benji's were largely the same.
Yeah.
Yay! I mean, I can go through my SmogCon experience really quickly.
Yes, we know you can, because you didn't have much of one.
For those who don't know, I was escorted away on work, and I managed to arrive at SmogCon at about 3 o'clock on the Sunday, just at the end of the convention at 5:30.
There we go. Shut down at 5:30. So you had a good couple of hours there.
And during that 2.5 hours, I think I walked around, said hey to a few people, played a couple of board games of Epic with you guys, and then packed up. Yeah.
Yep. See, I actually managed to have games of Tiny Epic Kingdoms that weren't with my housemate who hates the game. So, that was a good start.
How can you hate that game? It's so fun.
I must say, I was not switched on for any of the games that you had in that box. And I'm sorry, my face kind of went.
Right, I'll bring Coup next time and we can play Coup. Yeah, Benj?
Yeah.
No,
What?
No.
Not Coup again. I haven't played it with you guys, but I'm sure it's just as bad.
Can't deal with Coup. Sorry.
Really?
No.
What about Resistance?
Oh, Resistance is much better.
Resistance is just Battlestar Galactica without the board.
Yeah, as I said, Resistance is Battlestar Galactica without the faff.
Resistance is also a paranoia machine.
Yes.
Yes.
I really want to play some Paranoia, actually. I'm going to put that down on my list of stuff to introduce the guys at the office to.
Anyway, none of this is SmogCon.
I mean, it's geeky stuff, and we're a horse podcast.
Alex, talk about your SmogCon, because you had some interesting painting. Talk about the painting thing, because it was a lot better this year from what I saw. Like people's offering into the mix.
Oh yeah, the painting competition. Yeah, there's tons of entries. What do you want me to say?
Well, whatever. Just talk about the whole damn thing because it's.
Hang on. No. Stop. Alex, SmogCon, go.
Okay. Painting happened. Things happened. Yeah. So, painting wise, I think there was more entries to the painting competition this year than there's ever been, which is going to be a good thing. I don't know the actual exact numbers on it. I wouldn't be able to tell you that, unfortunately. But yeah, on the whole, I think the standard as well was up. It was higher, made it considerably more difficult than previous years to judge. A couple of years previously, there's been a couple of entries that have quite clearly been, head and shoulders above the rest. This year, there was a couple that could have quite easily have won the Grandmaster. It was won by Luke Foster, who's over in Hull, I think. I want to say,
Yes.
he had Saxon Auric with a pack beast, which was very nice. The miniature told a lovely story, and it was quite simple. It was just, I'd say, Saxon Auric and the I think it's a Bultra or something like that.
Yeah.
The beast from the Efrit Scouts.
Yes, he's been posting updates on this on Twitter. I did see that beforehand. That is an absolutely cracking example of a sort of miniature diorama kind of thing going on.
Yeah. I think he was really shocked and surprised to have won. He was not anticipating. I think he got in hoping to get a bronze, and he ended up coming away with a silver and the Grandmaster. Unfortunately, this year there were no golds. There were a couple of models that were kind of knocking on the door, should we say, and could have got up to that level, but just a couple of areas let them down. I think more and more people within the UK and Europe are realizing that competitions like this aren't for gaming pieces. There were a few entries that were gaming pieces. It's quite obvious they're gaming pieces, and kind of unfortunately does sort of rule them out of winning an award, because it's just that's not what is being looked for. I mean, there were a couple of pieces that got
that is always one of the arguments about this kind of competition, though. And that's one certainly that and I kind of have to stand up for our absentee friend as he's not here, that Kurt takes a very different view on. It's a very interesting one as to whether a painting competition should be about creating the best artistic miniature you can and working from there, or creating the best tabletop piece you can. And they're very different skills and they're very different areas. It's always an interesting discussion as to sort of which one you're aiming your painting competition at.
Yeah, I think it's the best thing you can do in that situation is be clear at the outset. I think that is kind of the very name of the competition, the P3 Grandmaster.
Yeah.
To me, suggests that you are looking for the best of the best, and that is, display quality. Dallas, the studio painter, where he's paint and hobby manager, I think is his official title. Who was over was kind of saying, a competition piece, realistically, you're looking at 100 hours of work on it to get to. And obviously, different people work at different speeds. I'm not saying, as a minimum, you have to put 100 hours in, but as a sort of a commitment to that miniature, that is what you have to put in. And it's much the same techniques, and this is, again, something from one of his seminars, much the same techniques as you'd use for painting an army at a tabletop standard quickly, but just done in a more refined way and more kind of two-brush blending was one of the things he was showing us. And kind of you're doing more blends, you're doing more layers, more transitions, more to get that transition smoother, to get the blend smoother. And putting your heart and soul into something, it's not easy, but that is what is required if you want to do well at competitions.
Yeah, I do think it's the painting side has always been sort of John Webb's baby. He's always been very clear that he wants the absolute I mean, he doesn't want anyone to be scared of entering, because partially the critique is a way of improving your painting. But he always wanted the winning miniature to be something that was, not the awards miniatures, because I don't think there actually is an outright. I don't know whether there was outright winners, but yes. But he wanted those kind of the top miniatures to be the cream of what we could see. And it's clear from what we've seen over the years that is a standard that people are going, I need to raise my game for this.
Yeah, definitely, and that's kind of what Dallas, who's doing the main part of the judging, sort of said to be harsh, be critical, because if you're not, then how are people going to improve, and how are people going to get better, and how is the standard going to improve year on year? So, and that is something that I think he did well. Dallas definitely was critical, but that is important, and it is cruel to be kind and all that. It can be important, and it is important to help improve.
Yeah, I think for me it was discussing once or twice with John Webb how I did my painting, that it became clear to me it's like I'm never going to enter painting competitions, because I get miniatures to be good enough to be on the table in my eyes, and kind of after that it's a really hard push for me to go back and keep going from that. You have to have that kind of mind that says, I want to keep being better. And
that's the thing with tabletop miniatures. If you're painting an army, you don't want to be spending 100+ hours on each miniature. You want to be kind of blasting through them. You want to be spending, one of the things that Dallas was saying, the way he paints an army, if he's painting, well, anything generally, studio miniatures, an army for his personal use, he looks at it in projects, and he sort of says, each project should last no more than 3 hours, and a project could be players painting a solo, or painting 2 solos, or painting if it's studio, going through and painting a unit of, I don't know, anything you can think of. So he's got those projects, and that's what he kind of works off, and you split it into those chunks. And again, that can kind of you can apply that to painting a competition piece, but you're not going to want to game with that competition piece, because again, you've poured your heart and soul into it. You've spent 100 hours on it. Last thing you want to do is throw dice into it and chip it. And again, if you're painting for competition, do paint something that's not part of your army. It forces you to stay away from the piece.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd heard there were more sort of paint-related hobby sessions that were running over the weekend. So what kind of stuff was Dallas running over the weekend? Because I got to see very little of this.
Yeah. So he did a true brush blending seminar. He did one on flesh, tattoos, metals. He did a sort of a series of kind of more general hangouts where he would, just kind of sit and chat, and if you wanted to show some of your miniatures, get some feedback, kind of some insight on what you can do to improve your painting and where you can go. So that was really helpful for a lot of people, I think, as well. But the kind of the lessons that he was doing were typically a couple of hours long each. Again, give some really good insight into ways you can simply and easily improve your painting. I don't know if anyone's seen any of the videos they've done on YouTube.
I've seen that they have started popping up with the occasional hobby-related video. Yeah,
speaking to Dallas, has quite big plans for that. He's got a lot of things in the works that he's going to be putting out more and more hobby stuff, which is again a good thing for the community as a whole.
Well, I mean, they did originally plan through Ron Cruzy to do a series of DVDs on kind of building up from basic painting techniques to something more advanced, but I don't think they've ever really got past the first DVD. So it's interesting. It's interesting seeing now that they're actually going back to that planned area and actually kind of fleshing it out a bit more, but in a very public arena rather than on a DVD you have to order from PP.
And that was Ron, who was over last year, was actually saying that he did mention last year, with the advent of YouTube and social media, there is that opportunity to put out more content like that. Because if you're publishing a DVD, you want that DVD to be a decent chunk of time to give people value for money when they're purchasing. You don't want to spend kind of $15-20 or sterling equivalent on a DVD for it to be 10 minutes long. It takes a long time to put something like that together. A lot of resources go into it, the production of the actual hard copy and the case and the cover and everything else that goes with it. Whereas with YouTube, as a medium, if you will, you can publish something up pretty much straight away, and it's there, and people can watch it, and people can take it. It's free of charge. It's a fantastic medium, and I think it's something that they've been looking at for a while, and obviously. I don't know if it's the push or what it's taken to get it done, but they're now there. They're using it, and I think it should be interesting to see how they progress and where they go with it.
Well, it's all part of PP's kind of community commitment, I think is the best way we can put that one. Okay, so I would give kind of my in-depth thoughts on SmogCon as well, because that was kind of the area where Alex was. My thoughts on SmogCon extend as far as the Iron Arena desk, because that's where I could be found most of the time. In fact, Will Hungerford did comment at one point, "Do you ever leave that desk?" I'm like, occasionally I go to sleep, and sometimes I have breakfast. That's really it. So
it should be it.
From my point of view, we had just huge amounts of Iron Arena players. I mean, I wasn't there last year, which was allegedly had more people at it. But seeing that one big gaming hall and it at occasions being pretty much entirely full, that was just impressive.
Yeah, last year it was really busy.
Yes, it was.
And this year, I think we made it harder for ourselves, but we made it easier at the same time. It was a very... I thank people for the people that had patience with us, especially due to the nature of how we were trying to run the Iron Arena this year, and we did the best with what we could, and the manpower behind it as well. So thank you to those that did have patience with our technical issues.
I was going to say, there was only one real major technical issue of the weekend. The rest of anything else was the usual, we've had a tournament come in, it's going to take a while to enter that, so you can't spend your points right now. Sorry.
Yeah, but we did.
And that's always going to be the case regardless of what system we're running, because it has always been the case. I mean, you've been there sort of in earlier years, Nick, and seen the chaos that that kind of data entry causes.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this discussion quite a few times now. How long's the pit been running now? 4 years? 3 years?
Well, it first started running at Guildford, which was year 3, so 3, 4, 5, and 6. So yeah, 4 years.
4, 5, 6. Yeah, you weren't there last year, but I mean, we've had the discussion where I am very much of the opinion that competitive shouldn't count towards your Iron Arena, and then we have this discussion about inclusion, and it all goes round in circles. I never win.
I'll be honest. I was of the same opinion. But then after a certain point, they took the prizes away.
Yeah,
from
that's true. They have
comp.
taken the prizes away from comp now. But I mean, like, one of the biggest feedbacks I've had over this year, and bearing in mind I wasn't even there for that long at SmogCon, but I still had 4 or 5 players talk to me about the pit, was that it was much easier to enter a tournament, play 4 or 5 games, and it take 12 hours, and you got 12 points. Whereas somebody who was actively in the pit trying to earn those 12 points would burn themselves out a lot more because they were more likely to be playing somewhere closer to 8 to 10 games, trying to fit food in, whatnot else.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's directly the opposite of what someone like Del Stewart said. Now, for reference to the world outside, there were 2 prizes at SmogCon that were the top end. They were 2 wheelie bags with a choice of foam inside, and we worked out that the system was you'd have 1 point for every hour that you played in, and we decided, okay, we want the bags to be, let's have 6 hours sleep a night allowed, and the rest of the time in doing stuff at the convention. So they were 45 points each.
But as well, like you say, you got the points from comp, you got the points from attending seminars in the kind of boardroom. If you took part of something organised or an arena over the weekend in that hour, you would get a point for that.
Yeah, shopping didn't count there.
No, nor did queuing for the shop. Although watching the presentation of the Grimkin did. So we had this system. Now, what Del Stewart came back to me with was it was much more relaxed this year, because what he could do is he could play until like 10 minutes past an hour, finish up his game, go away for an hour and 40 minutes, have a bit of a lunch, bit of a drink, go to loo, whatever, come back, start his next game 10 minutes before the next hour, and not lose out on any points.
But the argument I had was that you already have that built into a tournament, unless every single one of your games is going to time.
There were no breaks in the tournaments.
True, but unless every single one of your games is going to time, you have break periods built into the round. You finish a game in 30 minutes, and you have an hour spare where you're not needing to play. And it is very rare that every game in that tournament will go to time.
No, that is true, but I think you have more control over it in the pit than you do in a tournament.
Yeah, I think it's maybe about playing smarter, not harder. Because if you are playing for every single second of every single hour, then you're going to get burnt out. But if you, like you say, if you play a bit smarter, if you take a break, just.
No, I agree. There are ways to do it, but I think it's the first time we'd used this system. I don't think people quite realised that there were these loopholes, as it were, the ways to game the system. Because, I mean, we did talk about this before we even actually got to the event.
I have actually decided now that we tried and we tried and we tried to put a lid on gamification of the system, and this is the one thing that was the one thing that was held out from Captain Con as: you cannot game this system. You quite clearly can, because as one of the winners of the big prizes said, if I win this, you have failed stopping gamification. And it's true. So next year, I'm not going to try.
I mean, honestly, my suggestion is that we go back to days of old. We go back to what used to happen at the Welsh. I don't know if it still does, come to think of it. What used to happen at other outside of small events, and what happens at Insomnia, which is that for every game you play, you have limitations on how many games you can play, 1 an hour or whatever like that. You earn yourself a raffle ticket, and then the prize pool is raffled off.
Yeah, the raffle ticket thing has been.
No, yeah. I really don't like that. So for next year, I'm already working on this system with both Plazoid and Barry and Jason, where we're going to keep the point an hour thing, because.
But so my big issue, my really, really big issue with the point an hour is the fun parts. I mean, I've always been on the other side of the desk, so I guess I haven't actually been and played to do it myself. But the seeming fun parts is the achievement hunting, the playing a player of every different faction.
Which is why you should have let me
people
finish.
Okay.
So, what we're actually going to bring back at the same time is points for playing new people.
Okay.
Points for playing different nationalities. And points for fully painted. Now, what this will mean is there will need to be a rebalancing of the system. It will be different values of points, and that's something I need to look into, and I'll be looking into with Barry and Plazoid and Jason over the next 12 months. But I'm pretty sure we can come up with a system where, and this was purely unintentional, whereby players went along, and because there was no incentive to play someone new, some people would just turn up with their mates and play the same 4 people all weekend. And other people going, well, I'm not going to play anyone new because people are just playing people they already know. And that was a seriously unintended consequence, and one I'd not thought of at any point.
Can we incentivize people to play different things? Because that is something that I had a lot of feedback that people did enjoy doing about the one thing system. People played more Thunderdome. People played more Colossal Mania.
Yep.
People played more 4-way games and bigger games and things like that.
I didn't see this year that much variation in the type of games people were playing, apart from Dell and oh god, who was it now? Who had the 350-point Jack battle or something?
In the late nights and overnights, there were some Thunderdome games.
Okay.
So, yeah, yes, we did have fewer variations in games, and that's something I want to bring back, because one of the things that came, if you haven't seen this yet, if you're part of the War Machine Hordes UK Facebook group, please do go in the thread and just throw your 2p in the ring to comment on this one, because all the feedback we have is very valuable to us, because we try and improve year on year. One of the pieces of feedback we got was that people do miss the themed tables.
Yes. Yes. The first thing I did was look around for themed tables, and then realized there wasn't any, and I was like, oh yeah, forgot that.
But that hasn't been something since Guildford, either way.
No, there were themed tables. No, there weren't themed tables last year, because
it was
the year before there was.
There were
Really?
Lock and Load. So Colossal Mania was there the year after Guildford, but there were no others. Lock and Load Outpost also had themed tables.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, some of those will need some serious rebalancing for Mark III. I do have the full laid out rules for Smog Pit, which that will need some tuning up quite horribly for Mark III.
Once we get 2017 and we see what happens with SR 2017, I think we will be in a position where we can sit down and create that. We've definitely got, especially with me and you now being down the road from each other, we've definitely got the ability to come up with some crazy ass scenarios, try them in games of our own, and then put them out to the wider group.
So anyone fancies making some scenery for
the problem we don't have Jimmy making our scenery for us anymore. Yeah, that's very true.
So I mean, I will do my best to get something there that is a bit different, even if it is only using the Tundra board ice lakes to do the old ice lake scenario.
Oh god.
Yes.
God. I mean, did anyone play Grind this?
Yes. So there was actually a grind board. Alex, you probably saw more of this than us. There was a grind board in the board game room.
Okay, that was pretty cool. Because that could be quite cool to bring back the old grind scenario as well, to tie into the old game, but refine it a little bit. I hear it's quite fun. I hear it teaches you your power attacks.
They've kind of done that already, Nick, with a no quarter game.
Oh, is that? I haven't seen that no quarter game then. Okay, so fair enough.
So Nick's been living under a rock.
I just haven't had no quarter since I moved down here to Basingstoke. I do need to. It's probably still going to Glasgow.
Are you not getting it digitally?
No, I like the physical magazine.
Okay, fair enough.
I like having magazines as real things. Don't know why.
Fair enough.
Oh, damn it. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, yeah. I guess we do have to give in that things will be gamed, but the achievements do need to come back, definitely.
Yeah.
But
So that is in the works.
I'll be helping him out too, hopefully.
Well, hopefully the entire heavy brigade because I will be throwing down stuff like beer barrel bash on those tables and going, break this. oh, you have. Well, that's not too bad. That's silly.
I mean,
okay, I'm good with this.
That's kind of the idea, though. Some of them have to be silly and breakable, but you're only going to play it like once in the weekend, maybe twice in the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. Just for reference for people who might not be aware. So the scenarios we did were much more like the release event ones, where you had silly things happening. You know, your army deploys on one boat, another army deploys on another boat. The boats pass each other, and you've got to try and damage the other boat or sink it or do whatever. Meanwhile, models are shifting into and out of each other's melee ranges as the boats pass, and it's all kinds of chaos. We had Smog Pit, which was a variation on Thunderdome, which also included a battle group. But if you got into the center, you started gaining a star action that allowed you to damage everything else outside it. You had the beer barrel bash, which is where you essentially had 2 beer tents and some barrels in the middle of the field, and you were basically trying to get the beer back to your forces as quickly as possible. And if anyone blew up one of the barrels, that caused all your people to become angry for the turn, and it was just stupid stuff. And while it was in no way meant to be taken seriously, it was meant to be fun, and apparently it was. So, hooray!
However, now we've got work to do.
Yes. Now I have genuine work to do, and it makes me sad.
But yeah, as I said, we need SR 2017 before we can do that, especially with the big changes that are potentially on the horizon. So,
are you trying to professionally segue into another area of the show?
I don't own a Segway. Don't think I can drive it either.
This is somewhat unacceptable, I'm afraid. You know, you're trying to be professional. However, I'm being unprofessional in that I've lost the page with it on. So, one of the big pieces of news that's come out over the last few days is some of the details on the new version of Steamroller.
Steamroller 2017.
Which is something of a departure.
I mean, I'm going to be 100% honest here. I like this, not ignoring what it contains, the fact that they are willing to change it again. Because when I first joined the War Machine and Hordes community and started playing Steamroller back at the start of Mark II, each year when Steamroller changed, it did change quite drastically. A lot of changes came with the scenarios changed quite a lot. Some of the rules surrounding them changed quite a lot. The introduction of objectives, the introduction of flags instead of just having zones and various things, that all came. And I mean, the ability to choose your own objective and things. But for the past sort of 3, maybe 4, probably close to 3 years, Steam, I don't think that there's, besides a few names and a few very small changes, Steamroller's been the same. You don't even need to have really looked at the new rulebook to be able to play a Steamroller. In fact, I don't think I've looked at the Steamroller 2016 rulebook outside of a tournament.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to have to, which is fantastic. Bring back radial scenarios. Woo!
I know why they're not coming back.
Yeah, I know.
So the first Steamroller system we played under was, as far as I'm aware, Steamroller 2010.
Yeah, maybe.
Which I have right here.
Oh, wow.
And it's awful.
Yeah. Go back and try and play some of those Steamrollers, and then you wonder how we did it.
So the first scenario, just before we get into Steamroller 2017, the first scenario, the last scenario is one called Killbox.
Yay! So,
Mark A
was a scenario.
Here we go. Special rules. Mark a 24-inch square centered on the table, parallel to the board edges. This is the kill box. So 12 inches in from every side, you have this box. At the end of each player's own turn, starting on the first player's second turn, note first player's second turn, A player loses the match if he ends his own turn with any friendly Warcaster or Warlock not within the kill box. That's it. No CPs, no anything else.
I remember when that's where Killbox got its name.
That was an appalling scenario.
It was hilarious.
And let's not forget things like the Gauntlet.
Do you remember the tournament we went to where somebody decided it would be a fantastic idea to mark all of the zones out with scenery?
Yes, that was Ross on Y. And there was a different scenario on every table.
Oh yeah, because you didn't have the round play the whole same scenario. Tables could play different scenarios.
That was also the tournament where if you had to go to tiebreakers, you only got 1 point for a win. But if you got an outright win, you got 2 points, which annoyed me because I won all my games and only came about halfway up the table.
However, the best part about all of these old steamroller things was that Death Clock didn't exist. Time turns or nothing.
We're not going to enter into that discussion. Anyway, enough reminiscing about ye old days. Aye. I'll turn into Padge in a second. So, Steamroller 2017. What do we know so far? So, scenario scoring is very different. You still score CPs from controlling scenario elements or destroying objectives. Fine. Circle zones are only scorable by warrior models.
Not true. I'll correct you after. Carry on.
That's literally what Pagani says here. So if you're correcting me, you're correcting him as well.
I thought the rule was that Warcasters can control everything and anything.
So what are most Warcasters, Nick? But would that be warrior models?
Okay, fine.
But then again, a battle engine warcaster can still control a circle.
Yeah, battle engine.
Oh, God, that's...
Denegra.
We're stretching.
Thank you, Alex. I knew you had my back.
So, rectangle zones are only scoreable by warjacks, warbeasts, or battle engines. Oh, look! If I'd continued, we'd have got to this point. Warcasters and warlocks can score in any zone type, as well as flags.
There we go. That'll do.
Dominate doesn't exist as it did in 2016 and was replaced with the ability for warcasters and warlocks to control multiple scenario elements at the same time.
Overlapping zones. I love it. I love all these people who have gone and got perfectly circular pieces of foam and whatever to put down, and now they're going to overlap and they don't know where they start and end. It's going to be amazing. Long-lived plexiglass.
We've not had it confirmed that they're going to overlap. I mean, the one pitch that we've seen of a scenario basically has a...
Excuse me, Alex, brackets, such as overlapping or close proximity zones.
You just got fucked.
You got Pagani'd.
You go... We need a warcaster that can sit on a flag in a circle, in a triangle, in a rectangle. There's no triangles.
Sorry. Just reading from Chris Young. Time turns are dead. Long live Deathclock. Time turns are not dead. They are the perfect way to train for Deathclock, and you can tell people who've only ever played Deathclock because on turn 2 you kind of just pass the clock over to them and sit there and wait. Perhaps make a cup of tea. Go and get lunch, various other bits and pieces, because they cannot keep their turn in 10 minutes.
You've never played War Machine until you've played 5-minute time turns with no extension.
Oh boy, that was rough.
Super hardcore. Oh, those are the days.
Anyway, let's move back on to 2017. So, I think this is very interesting because... Much as other people said before that Steamroller is a way for PP to shape the game, this is a good indication that we have the PP are going, okay, if you want to, you can bring an all-warjack army and you can contest. You're not going to get CPs off everything, though.
Yep.
And
it's their way of saying, we see your spam lists, and this is our answer to them. People were crying out in the last errata for dealing with some more of those spam lists. Now, they've curtailed some of them, and people were worried that others were had got by. But actually, this is the answer. This is what it causes it. Yes, you can still bring as many. You can still bring Lucon and 19 galvanizers, but as Mike just said, you cannot win on scenario as easily, especially with the other change we haven't talked about yet in the scoring system.
Well, that's like 2 points down. We'll get to that. So, Benj, Alex, any thoughts on this?
Elephants.
Oh, I forgot Alex doesn't play the game anymore.
To be fair, as I said, I haven't played that many tournaments, and I very rarely played for objectives of recent times. So I'm interested in it because
I actually find that a very interesting statement because, to me, personally, Steamroller is the beating heart of the game. If you put down two forces on the table and don't put down a scenario, to me, it feels very unfocused and strange. Even if the scenario is not necessarily easily winnable, it's still there to give some focus to the flow of the game, if you see what I mean.
It's like that game I played against, was it the Booker guy?
Kev.
And we just completely forgot to put a scenario down because we'd been chatting away about various other things, and we'd racked up, and then we kind of went, we don't have a scenario. Oh, let's just play cricket pitch. It's been a while since we played cricket pitch. And the game was a mess. There was just things everywhere. And I was just like, it doesn't matter how much of his stuff I kill. I can't kill Borka. So I'm going to lose this game. It's just going to be a very long loss. And it was just really interesting how this game, there was no central focus to it, and everything just went everywhere.
I mean, there's the usual focus for most people that you play against is, can I kill your caster? And then some people think halfway through the game, oh, I'm in a position to try and score CPs. And that's
a very different mindset, because I go into a game going, how do I get up on CPs while not losing most of my army, and then try and stay ahead while grinding out to the end? That's my approach to a game. If somebody in my experience and in my mindset, if somebody is assassinatable, it's normally due to either an error on their part, which I can then take advantage of, or the game has gone incredibly well for me to put me in a position where I can do that.
It's interesting because I wouldn't say it's the latter, and I definitely know people that play for the attrition and for the CPs and everything like that. But I think a lot of people are very singularly focused as well on scoring by winning the game by assassination.
This is very interesting. I think this might be something that's related to the clubs that we kind of learnt the game in. Because I certainly know that the Dark Lords, everything was you played extremely safe with your caster, more so than I know a lot of people do. And you tried to kind of just mess with other people's scenario scoring while trying to get a couple of points in yourself.
I'd say it depends wholly on, I think it's the more experienced player that tries to game for the CPs than it is the newer person who is trying to do the janky assassination.
I mean, yeah, I think that it is evident with newer players. Newer players look for the assassination a lot more than the scenario play. Maybe it is that I've been around in the game for a lot longer, and I was there back in Mark II where you were facing Legion lists that would just repulse everything out of the zone and then claim the scenario, and so you had to learn to play the scenario around that, or you dealt with Kruger lists where he would feat to out scenario you, so you had to get that, and Denny lists that would lock you out of the scenario, and Haley 2 lists that would lock you out of the scenario. And because I've lived through that, maybe that's why my approach is different.
That is an interesting one. It's curious, and we'll have to get some games in against you at some point, Benj, and see if there actually is a different kind of ethos to playing. It's interesting.
Well, there's a different ethos for me because I'm an idiot, and I usually take absolutely stupid dice roll odds and to kind of go big or go home, and
Never telling the odds.
But the thing is,
Yeah.
so we've not covered the other points yet, but with the changes to SR, it feels as though we actually need to find a balance between the two of us, Benj.
right.
Okay, maybe assassination becomes more optionable because you need to bring your caster forward to be able to get into those zones, to be able to. I mean, we don't know what they all look like yet, but we can assume they're still going to be very central based. And that's going to start to lead you to maybe play more recklessly with your caster. You're not going to be able to throw your army forward to claim the zones because actually you would need to put your warjacks into an area that the opponent can just wipe them out. And so you can't get up on scenario. So you have to then bring your caster forward to claim something that nothing else in your army can.
I think this is going to be very interesting when it hits CID.
Yeah.
Because again, this is all going through CID, so we can look forward to seeing it inside the next
2 or 3 weeks.
3 months.
Oh, sorry, they're not coming at the same time as Grimkin, are they?
I think they're saying April.
Is April enough time to really grind it out before lock and load?
So April for the public CID would be 2 months.
Okay, maybe that's enough time. Yeah.
So it depends. It depends on how much time they want for CID.
That'd be really awkward to be practicing Grimkin for a couple of months before the SR changes because you'll be practicing them in a situation they've probably not been designed for.
Well, it's interesting in that I think I know why they do it that way, so that you have 2 months of I know the scenarios. Let's see how these interact with the game. And then once the Grimkin are solidified, then you go, okay, how do they interact with this new scenario setup?
Because both SR17 and Grimkin will be lock and load weekend, yeah? That's confirmed now.
Yes. So anyway, next point on the roadmap to SR 2017. And this is a very hotly contested one. Random game length. So at the end of round 5, you're going to roll a d6. If it's a 5 or 6, the game ends. At the end of round 6, you roll a d6. If it's a 5 or 6, the game ends. End of round 7, the game just ends. What do we think of this one?
I think again it's an interesting change. I think from the notes that they've released in Pagani's thread was saying that in play testing, very few games have gone to round 5. You know, whether or not that changes through CID, it may well be that he's highlighted that more games than anticipated are going longer, and hence they maybe change that to a 6 up and then down to a 5 up on round 6. You know, that could be one change that I could potentially see happening. Or it may well be that we stick with it. I think that it's too early to say without being able to see kind of how the scoring works properly and how that plays with it, and whether or not you're more likely to win.
Too early to say. You're being reasonable again.
It is too early to say. This is why it's going into this format, is because we don't know.
And I think as well, it's easy to say around 5, but I mean, if you think about it, I mean, I don't really know how many games. I don't really keep track of rounds, but how many games are meaningful post round 4?
So this is one of those interesting things. We don't currently keep track of how many rounds things take. I mean, you have a vague idea of, oh, that happened on my turn 3, 4. I think no, it must have been 3. In this, we're going to have to be on top of it. It's something different and new to track. And I'm inclined from just thinking about games I've had to say, yeah, most of them are practically over in turn 5, turn 6. Whether with this scenario pack, that becomes a more definite, oh no, it's over by then. I will say one thing that I am happy about is that it actually makes scenario more relevant in Death Clock, because previously in Time Turns you could do the thing of getting up on scenario and then go, okay, I'm going to play defensively from here. I'm going to stop you scoring, and if I can go the distance, I win the game at this point. It's up to you to come and get me.
But then it doesn't stop that at all, because if you're in a situation where you can contest, you just need to time out 7 turns.
That's what I was actually saying. It's bringing that into Death Clock, and that's actually something that I liked about Time Turns.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so you're not... Because I thought you were saying people do it in Death Clock. You get up on time and up on scenario, and then play passively and let your opponent time themselves out eventually. Because that is a tactic people do use in Death Clock, and it can work quite successfully quite a lot of the time. Okay, fine. Sorry, I do apologize. I misunderstood.
No, that's fine.
I mean, my initial reaction is get your Games Workshop out of my game. But
actually, we have a very interesting one here as well from Chris Young.
Go on.
In that, this will stop, at least for the most part, the clock being flicked back every 15 seconds.
Yep. How often
that is one of the biggest positives I have seen come out of this. Because that's it, and I've had to do it myself, and I don't like doing it. But that point where you flick the clock across to someone, they know that they cannot win in 13 seconds, and they have to go, yep, good game. And it is horrible to have to do. But at the same time, it's part of the game. And if this eliminates something like that, I am all for it.
I mean, so I was going to go back to what I was saying. My initial reaction was get your Games Workshop out of my game, but I come down a bit from that. I've looked at it a bit more, and as you said, a lot of the time the game is over by turn 7 anyway. However, recently, especially in the Bristol tournament, I know of 2 games that went to quite a high turn count.
Yeah.
Because we were playing armies that just took a while. My game against Ryan, when he was testing out that pirate list, that was playing. So that's a Mark III theme force with a lot of recursion built into it.
Ghost Fleet Solidarity.
Went on for about 8 or so turns, and I lost to a mistake where I was assassinatable because I tried to push forward on scenario. And the game would have, if the game had ended on turn 5 or turn 6, we would have both been sat there with 0 scenario points and just not really having had a game, because it took that long for us to start chunking through our front lines to get somewhere. And I had a similar situation with another game. I think it was in one of the other tournaments where it was Jack versus Jacks, and they didn't go very far for a while.
Well, just to throw in a counterpoint here, if the scenarios are well designed and designed around this game length, is that not something that's going to encourage you to get out there earlier and say, okay, we've got 7 turns, I need to start going for the early score?
Yeah, and so that's what I said with Benj, that you have to play more recklessly with your caster and push a lot more in the early game. I mean, turn 1 never really matters for much apart from positioning anyway.
Yeah, it's the unpack your army phase.
You're effectively playing a maximum of a 6 turn.
I contest that a little bit, the unpack your army thing, because I've seen many people lose the game by unpacking their army incorrectly on the first turn.
We're not in the days
no.
Snipe feet go anymore.
It is entirely possible that you go, oh yeah, I'll send this unit over here, and then turn 2 you realise, oh no, wait, no, that was entirely the wrong unit sent to that side of board. Oh, I've lost. Okay.
I've blocked my own charge lanes. Oh,
Yeah, that happens. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
But that's a managing your army thing. The thing is, the fact of the matter is, outside of a few corner case scenarios, such as Snipe Feet Go, telekinesis, temporal acceleration, and
I'm just going to start vomiting on you in a second.
and a few other little bits like that. Armies can't do anything to each other on turn 1. And putting a top limit of 7 means you're effectively only ever having 6 turns of potential combat and potential game, and a minimum of 4. So you're saying effectively a minimum of 4 is acceptable. I'm not sure that is.
I think the key thing here is that this could be good. It could be bad. We don't know until we've seen the rest of the pack here.
We do need more information, definitely.
I think this one is the one that's the most able to swing either way in quality terms.
Yeah. And that would be a big part of CID, is that people will do this. And if it becomes a negative thing that games are ending where they're still playable, feed it back during CID. If that is genuinely how it's feeling, feed it back. They'll listen to it. They'll make their call. And if it is a negative thing, it will go away. PP don't like their game being a negative play experience. That's why the Grimkin Arcanas are open knowledge. That's why Haley 2 had controlling your opponent's models taken out of her feet.
Eventually.
It took them a while to realize that negative play experiences were bad.
They fucking did it just when I started mastering how to fuck someone's life up. And I was like, oh, for God's, every time I master something, PP go, oh no, it's great.
You played Epic Haley, they took her out of the game. You played Harbinger, they took her out of the game.
Exactly. It's just
Benj, tell me what you're going to play next, so I'm not going to play it.
I don't know.
Don't stop playing McBain, for God's sake.
I don't know. I don't like shirtless weirdos,
What?
running around. He's far too weird. He's got, the mutton chop, sort of like...
Shirtless weirdo. He's not shirtless.
He looks like Draven from League of Legends. He's weird. I don't like people like that. It's weird.
We're going a bit bizarre now, but
yes, we are. Okay.
More information, and until we get the full pack, we're just going to be speculating wildly. But I don't
speculation.
I mean, I'm the odd one because for a dice game, I don't like RNG, and this is why I used to play things like Calandra, where I could just sit and fix my dice for days. I'm sorry, it's just how I play. I'm not a fan of RNG.
See, this is where I come into it from the Blood Bowl angle.
Fuck Blood Bowl.
Being a former Blood Bowl player, I go, okay, what can I do first that doesn't involve any dice rolls? What can I be certain will happen? And then you kind of work your way up from this is pretty much certain to happen to okay, this one's more corner case. And you try and mitigate the dice as best you can.
The whole game is that, though. The whole game is mitigating the dice, but
yes, exactly.
Because I had 4 hours worth of trains there and back to Paris and then up to Birmingham. I had my work laptop on me, which is very limited on what it can run. I put Blood Bowl Chaos Edition on there and played about 8 hours of Chaos Edition this weekend. I hate RNG.
Single D6 systems.
I decided to play Necrotic. Necrotic?
A Necromantic.
The Necromantic. I'll get it right. Just because I like giving the dog the ball and then he can run. And the computer killed my dog, so I restarted. They killed my dogs again. Ah!
Right,
well, there we go. Okay, so next point on the list: scenario victory.
Oh yeah, we're still going for this.
Yes, we are. Surprisingly, we are still on the topic of Steamrock 2017. So, you no longer have to score 5 CPs to win the game. You must score 6 more than your opponent.
I mean, at the moment, that means nothing because we don't know how many you can score in a turn. Right now, the maximum you can score in a turn is normally 3, maybe. Is there a situation where you can score 4? Can you dominate a zone, control something else, and destroy an objective? Maybe.
I think most of the scenarios where you could actually do that were taken out.
Yeah, so I think 3 is like the maximum you can do if you're janky as fuck.
Yeah. Well, at the point where you're scoring 3 a turn, you've won. That's it. Game is over. At that point, if you can score the 3, you must have done something so horrendous to your opponent, they're not back in it.
No, not necessarily. There can be a situation where your opponent underestimates, puts one toe in the zone on one model, and you telekinesis it out, dominate the zone with your warlock, and destroy their objective with guns, and they've got their entire army ready to come charging into the zone.
It's plausible, but it's on the unlikely end of things. Let's face it.
I mean,
that's a Hail Mary.
From my experience, I think whenever I've scored 3, it's been maybe turn 2. If you beat you into the zone and managed to beat out what he's got in there, kill the objective, etc.
Apparently, the 6-up thing has been clarified as a mercy end condition.
Yeah, it's basically I have humiliated you, concede kind of thing. It's yeah.
So there is.
It's not
still a cap, or not?
I don't think it's intended to be the end of the game.
Okay.
It's there in case if you are far and away in the lead, then yes, end the game by all means. But I think this is intended to keep the scenarios live, to keep people in the game, and to actually say, okay, your opponent may be up on CPs. You're going into turn 6, but you know what? The assassination is still there for you. You may be 6-2 down, but if you can get the assassination, you're back in the game. And it's interesting. It's that little bit of a balance out, because the random turn length and the more scenario zones and more scoring, that puts it to scenario. And then this says, okay, we're going to give the assassination player something as well. Don't everybody comment all at once.
They're catering for everybody, which can be a good thing.
I'd say less catering for everybody and trying to provide an environment where the maximal number of forces are viable.
I mean, I said it before we were on air, because this is the last point, correct? There's not any more points to go on.
No, there's one more on terrain.
Oh, okay, I'll wait then. Go for the terrain point first.
Benj, any thoughts before we move on?
No, I'm good.
Okay, fine. Whatevs.
Well, this is all hypothetical for me. I'm not very good at speculating like this.
God.
What? I just want to see stuff. I want to see it played. And
Chris Younger says something interesting here. He says scenarios are more about for 17. Scenarios are more about the flow of the game. Like they're more of a tempo score. So the tempo can go back and forth, but you can only actually win on scenario if you crush your opponents, which means you're less likely to win by using control casters to just control your opponent out of the game. Like when I said back in the day, where Denegra could pop forward and feet and just annihilate you, or not even annihilate you, just leave you and you can't get back into the game, where Kruger used to be able to feet you out and drop your speed so you couldn't get back into the game.
Let's not forget the wonderful
putting that into the grave.
Let's not forget the wonderful days of walking a driller up behind Gorton, throwing him forward and going, no scenario for you for 2 turns. Ha ha. That was amazing.
The days of Griselle tier 4, just running all of those infantry forward with Hoofit.
That was less fun. So yes, the final one on here is terrain. So at the moment we have, and this depresses me as a PG, it really does. We have nigh on a page of guidelines on this thing can't be within 5 inches of this. This can't be within 2 inches of these. These shouldn't be near flags and zones, but can be. But players can call you over if they want to. And it's just, from year to year, people do not remember what the guidelines on terrain are.
Is it 3 inches? Is it 5 inches? Which widget do I use?
It's 2 and 5, but there we go. So scenario, not scenario.
But this
terrain
one can be within more than that one, right?
Terrain will have 3 guidelines on how to place it, not set maps. You will not have to do any shuffling of terrain during events. I remain skeptical of that one.
People shuffle terrain, apart from when they put their trays on the board and knocked everything flying.
That's literally the point Pagani went on to mention. I will be interested to see where that goes, because I am skeptical that you can provide me with 3 guidelines on how to place terrain that will consistently provide for a challenging and entertaining environment that I won't have to reshuffle at least 20% of the tables every round. I remain skeptical, but if they can do it, fine. But there we go. So that was the length and breadth of Pagani's update. So Nick, you were going to say something previously and didn't.
So we don't actually know the terrain rules at the moment. Then he didn't give us those 3 guidelines.
Nope.
Oh, okay, fine. That's fine. Yeah, what I said when we were offline before we went live is that 2017, for Steamroller 2017, the faction to be sounds very much like it's Retribution. They're the army that brings the most combined arms force to the table right now, and so they feel like they'll have the least change to them to adapt to Steamroller 2017.
I'd say with the current forces on the table, you're probably right. I'd say Mercs are in the same ballpark, but that's largely because their jacks are so cheap that, you might as well bring 4 of them. So, they fall over like paper, unlike the Retribution ones.
What I am worried about is we end up in a situation back in Mark II, where Mark III has given us more warjacks and things like that, but actually War Machine armies still do bring some infantry. Your Signals are bringing your Lances. You see your Cadre players bringing some of your Winter Guard. You see Menos players with whatever infantry Menos plays these days, maybe, I think. But there is infantry on the table.
Choir, that's their infantry, choir.
But, that was going to be my point. Hordes is still very much in a position where it's lots of beasts and then beast support a lot of the time. There doesn't seem to be an abundance of units in Hordes, at least that I've seen. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just not seeing the right thing.
I think you're in kind of the right direction. I think there has been some encouragement of Hordes, particularly Legion, to kind of please bring some other models.
But this will be quite a shake-up for them when they're being forced to take infantry that they are classing as subpar.
But are they?
If they can't, if a scenario is very heavy on the infantry zones and less so on the War Beast, War Jack zones.
But as long as they can contest, then because there's no I score 5, I win. Do they have to be as concerned about having that mix of stuff?
I guess maybe that is true.
It puts us in a very interesting position, in fact, because, yes, you can tailor your list to have the balance of both and be able to score and have a very scenario-driven army, or you can completely forsake one direction of it and go, okay, I am going to have all beasts or all infantry, and my aim is to block you out on scenario and crush your list.
Okay, maybe that's true.
I don't know whether that opens that up or what.
I mean, it was just a very slight worry that we end up in this position where Hordes is seen as subpar because it can't compete in...
I do think there is a danger with Hordes at the moment anyway, in that a lot of the players feel that they are pretty much in general overcosted. Certainly on their beasts, obviously probably on their infantry as well, because, well, they're taking their beasts in preference.
There are some very good options in certain factions in Hordes that people haven't started picking up yet. I'm waiting to see the scorn spam of Ferox, because Ferox are terrifying. You're hearing people complaining about Stormlancers. Wait till people pick Ferox up.
Yeah. Scorn have a lot of interesting stuff. I played against the Blood Runners the other day. I was like, oh, okay, so they're good now.
Yes,
this is odd. I was thoroughly surprised by that, because in this edition, I don't know where some people are getting this idea that stealth is a terrible thing now from, because They have stealth, which is unpleasant, and anatomical precision and apparition. I'm just sat there going, so do they have more special rules after this? Are you done? Or because the idea that a unit could come up, engage you, then apparate through you, and next turn hit your back line, that's slightly terrifying. And I don't think they're even their best unit. So, but then again, there's been very little evidence of the effects that have happened to Scorn since the change. I think we need another few months of those first.
It's just the meta catching up with itself, right? It takes people a while to realize the changes that are there and the impact they've had on the game, because people are always focusing on what is the perceived problem at the moment.
Well, yeah, focusing on the perceived problem, that's probably only going to be increased by CID, to be honest. So, yeah, that'll definitely be interesting to see where that goes. So, we'll see. Any further comments from anyone on SteamWorld 2017?
No, not that I can.
Tumbleweed.
Excellent. And Benji's off playing the Division again.
No.
Titanfall 2?
No.
Hearthstone?
Yeah.
All right.
You are terrible. You're a terrible human being.
I have in my hands right now
No, we don't need
Origins of Hearthstone. The WoW CCG card. In fact, multiple WoW TCG cards.
Oh God.
I would have pulled my WoW TCG stuff down off the shelf, but I've just put it back on top of the bookcase, so that's not happening. Yeah.
That was what drove us to Minis games, if you remember. The death of WoW TCG. If WoW TCG was still going, wouldn't people playing War Machine right now?
I don't know. I went back to WoW TCG near the end.
Okay, if WoW TCG hadn't had a little hiccup that looked like it was going to die and inevitably led to its long death, just took a little while longer to give up breathing.
I'm going to go off topic here for a second, lads. Just don't worry about this. The fact that when I went back to it, they were averaging like 6 quests in a deck, and it was an average of 4 to draw a card.
That's mental.
Rather than 3.
3 or 2 if you had special cards.
Yes, there we go. But that's moving outside the realms of this podcast and back to a dead game.
I miss those days.
I kind of do as well.
I miss WoW Mini. WoW Mini was an amazing system.
I didn't have to glue as much. Speaking of which, it's time for any other business. So, Alex,
table.
Don't stop that. You let me encourage him. Alex, any other business?
We've been hearing him filing. I want to know what he's been filing all night.
Tax returns.
Yeah.
Oh, that is
bankers.
Great
There we
mind.
go.
No, I've been fanning some Infinity bases.
Oh, you're going on the Infinity. Has Infinity had a rules change? Because a lot of people started talking about it lately.
It's on version 3.
Okay.
Well, Third Ed is just over a year and a half old, I think.
Is it less broken?
Yeah.
Can I actually enjoy a game of it now rather than getting gunned down by a guy on a motorcycle?
Oh,
We
no,
don't talk about my experience versus Eugene.
Yes, you can enjoy it. Yes, it is.
All right, cool. Maybe I have to find those models again.
Okay. Anything else in any other business, Alex?
Not really. Getting things ready for the ETC.
You got any dates for that, and when tickets are going on sale?
Yeah, actually, I have. So I announced today that tickets will be going on sale on Friday, the 3rd of March at 7 p.m. There is space for 32 teams. 2 tickets have already been pre-sold in Bunny Ears. 1 ticket went to the winner of the event from last year, which was Team Scotland, and 1 ticket went to the highest-ranking team, highest-ranking Europe team at the WTC, which is a German team. So I've been in contact with those guys. They've got their tickets all sorted. So there's 30 tickets left.
So if people were interested in getting a ticket, where would they go?
Firestorm Games. I'm going to post a link up on the ETC social media. So I've got Facebook and Twitter, not Instagram, unfortunately. Facebook and Twitter. So yeah, they'll go up on there.
Tickets are available on firestormgames.co.uk.
Okay, but yeah, I will post a direct link on social media.
So if people don't know a lot about the ETC, what kind of format are we talking?
The 5-man team event, very similar to the WTC. So it's kind of appeal is, well, there's a number of different appeals for a number of different players, but kind of the 2 main ones are those who are wanting to get to they're going to be playing on one of the teams, or those who maybe aren't going to qualify for that event and want to get a taste of that event. Have playing with your friends. Some people go with it with a very kind of playing for fun attitude. One year we had a team who basically had a giant spinning dial to decide who played against who.
Team roulettes.
Yes, team roulette. Yeah, they had basically you choose pairing, so you put a couple of forwards. Your opponent chooses which of their players wants to play against which of the opponent's players, and then you kind of switch vice versa, going back and to decide who's going to play who. And say this team basically let a roulette wheel, a custom-made roulette wheel, make that decision for them.
Oh, it was very impressive. I mean, I ended up playing team roulette sort of the last time.
It was more like a coffee table than a roulette table.
Yes, quite. So no, that's cool. So what were the dates of the ETC again?
The 1st and 2nd of July 2017.
Fair enough.
And it is at Firestorm Games as well. Worth noting.
There we go. Never say I don't give you any airtime for these things.
Well, there you go.
Fair enough. So, Benj, any other business?
Well, I've almost finished Kozlov in these dying minutes of the podcast. So,
podcast isn't dying.
Well, no, I meant as in.
Well, smoke on, mate.
Oh, snap. No, I've just finished Kozlov to a tabletop standard. This won't be winning any tournaments, but neither will be any PP plastic for the battle boxes. Like, oh god, I cannot stand that plastic. I'm
Positivity bench.
I'm still positive. I've been a lot more positive than you.
I'm positive that I don't like it.
I'm very positive I don't like it. No, I'm just going to be getting back into painting stuff for the foreseeable, and maybe sticking it on the table top when John decides to have another tournament again.
And Ben, actually, I was going to say you should come press gang at the ETC.
Is that an actual invite, or are you just? Am I going to turn up and then you're just going to say?
It's definitely an invite. If you want to press gang at the ETC, there's a space waiting for you.
When is it?
Again.
There you go. Don't say I never advertise. No, that was literally because I was just getting face hunted that I missed those dates. Okay. I will definitely.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we can have conversations offline. So that's cool.
Okay.
And if anyone is interested in coming to John's Pro tournaments, just look for the Bristol Independent Games Facebook page, and they will show you when their War Machine events are. It's a decent little venue, a very good crowd there. They can usually do between 8 and 16 for a steamroller. Usually 16 for the Saturday ones, 8 for the Sundays.
Mike likes
quite
it.
often they are. I'm sorry.
No, Mike likes it because he calls it easy pickings.
For God's sake.
What I was going to say, quite often they are advertised on the War Machine Hall UK page.
Yeah,
that's somewhere to look if you.
Which, if you're not on there, do join. It's a great place for discussion and finding out about events. and also trolling people mercilessly.
It's not bad for Tom either.
I do have actually just before we leave. This is a rules question because I'm so.
We're only
out of
halfway
it.
through any other business. We're not leaving yet. Then.
I know. Just this is a rules question. It didn't really fit in anywhere else. But I was trying to look at those theme lists, and if you choose a caster, and it says no character warjacks, why does War Room allow you to give them that character's
If the
warjack?
character has a bond, if the character warjack has a bond with the caster you've chosen, you can take that. So, for example, Haley can always take Thorn.
Okay.
You can always take Dynamo.
They combined bond and special issue into one rule.
Yeah,
that's
So,
awesome.
the
Actually,
reason some character warjacks still need to be named is, for example, Thunderhead doesn't have an association to a caster.
yeah.
And I think there's a couple of those. There's not many of them, but there's a few of them within various factions.
And that's because I was just sitting there going, "Is this a bug?"
No,
Right.
it's if there's a bond, you can take them, which is fantastic for keeping flavor in the in rules in
Alright.
themes.
Well, Butcher will be making a return then at some point.
Would you have a character?
Yeah, he has Ruin.
Yeah.
He is one of my favorite model warjacks. A very characterful Kodiak chassis with dead Ouroboros on it. Fucking wolves.
Is it Kodiak chassis?
He is Kodiak chassis. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I suppose the Pathfinder of the Charge makes more sense then.
Yeah, exactly. It's very, very thematic.
Okay.
Who knew Kodiaks were psychopathic? I always thought it was berserkers.
Cade or Jacks are kind of psychopathic in general.
Apart from berserkers, they just blow up. They're more
But that's because they're old, even older than nomads.
even older than you, Pappy.
Hey.
Well, no, it's just that conversation over the weekend was hilarious. Like, why'd you see me as a father figure? I'm a year older than you. No, it was great. And then John just drops it going, but you are my father figure. Yeah.
The worst, all of you.
Literally the first. We are the sausage.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sorry.
Moving on.
Nick, any other business?
No.
Excellent. Moving on. Me, any other business?
Who's me? I'm me.
Yeah.
I'm
I've been painting up some more 6mm Imperial Guard.
Get out.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's been very therapeutic because I realized I can be really messy with how I paint them, and because they're 6mm, no one will ever notice.
Did you
It's,
paint them in bright colours just to reminisce really about what Games Workshop used to be like back in version 2? Really cool.
Back in there.
Have you seen my Imperial Guard?
No, Mike's
If they're not bright colours, I'm not interested.
Mike's sitting there watching Zulu every night and imagining orcs charging.
No,
Up the hill.
no. Sharp. Get it right.
No, it was definitely a combination of the two. Sharp is Gaunts actually in space.
Okay, yeah. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
So, Nick, I'm just going to send you, and I'll send it the
old-fashioned way.
I'll send it to the YouTube chat as well. I will send you a picture of
Not
my
bright
Imperial
enough.
Guard.
Where's the yellows? Where's the blues?
They're bright red with a pith helmet. What more do you want?
Pithy.
And in fact, there's yellow on the bases.
Yeah.
There you go. See, that told you.
I've still got that copy of White Dwarf, the Massacre at Big Tooth River.
Not painted like this. I don't care.
For reference, Nick has just pasted.
I can't paste it into the YouTube because it tells me off for pasting web addresses. So,
Yes, Nick has just pasted me the Slanesh Noise Marine from. That's got to be a Rogue Trader model.
it's second edition.
It's for the second edition rulebook, but that's got to be a Rogue Trader model.
With the guitars, they were my favourite.
It's got leopard print greaves. I mean, for God's sake.
Who painted that? Because they probably died of an epileptic fit shortly after.
It's the fact it's the leopard print greaves and the zebra print helmet with the rainbow coloured mohawk.
Yeah.
That is what second edition was all about, garish paint schemes.
God bless you, heavy metal painters, because you were mad in the face. I love what you did.
God bless the Ultramarines. They brought some normality to fucking second ed.
Oh,
Yes,
you're the worst.
Blue with white U's.
I'm not the worst because I didn't bask at the church of Matt Ward and what he did to them.
You would have hated my Iron Warriors because I painted them the shiniest silver that I could get away with.
Oh God, you and probably John crawl into some kind of chevroned bed, yellow and black, and copulate together.
No. It was the shiniest silver. I changed the yellow out for gold, so they got gold trim on everything, and then they had black. Everything had to shine.
Oh, you disgust me.
Blind my opponent when I put them on the board.
Actually, Nick, you might approve more of my Warhound, which actually has the yellow and black shoulder pads. So.
Yes.
Whenever I see something industrial like that, it just makes me sick. It just reminds me of a period when wargaming put silly warning symbols on it and tried to get away with it.
If we talk about hazard stripes, it's worth noting that one of the entries to the P3 Grandmaster of the Weekend by John Muir from Kent, one of the webs, he submitted a Madrak 3, and it was very kind of, I want my phone, but not black and white. It's very blue overall. On kind of realizing this, he felt that he needed to add a bit of color, so he thought, as a contrast to blue, yellow. She went for some hazard stripes on the shield, which unfortunately for Madrak's character, he's a little kind of left field. Unfortunately, he was marked down somewhat for that, sort of on the thing, sort of saying, that there's no real reason why they should be there. And it was, I mean, they were very nicely done, don't get me wrong, but kind of in a composition sense, not the best executed.
What have they done to Gulliman?
So for reference, I just sent him the Gulliman model and said, would you rather have this?
Constipation man.
His head is tiny.
He's a man in giant space armor.
The flaming, they've just,
I mean, the flaming sword's fucking awesome. Don't diss the flaming sword.
Do you see the shark jumping between his legs? Because the shark has been jumped by Gulliman, I think, in this fucking we've gone for, no. I had faith in humanity.
I mean, I'll give it to them. I can only count like 1 or 2 skulls on the entire fucking...
One. I can
one
only
on his
see
knee
one.
pad and 1 on the base.
3.
Oh, where's the 3rd?
4.
Oh, fuck.
So, knee pad, left ankle. There's one just in front of the eagle under his left foot. And there's one in the middle of the base, just under the dead Space Marine.
I see 3.
Yeah, I see
3.
them.
Still don't see 4.
That's 4, I reckon.
He's standing on a fucking eagle. Is he also American as well? Jesus Christ.
Oh no. Now just get the image of Star-Spangled Space Marines. And
Can someone just Photoshop Trump's head on that? And that would be America.
Oh, this is causing me far too much amusement.
That's it. Ultramarines are dead to me. That is it now.
So you're going to move to the Imperial Fists instead?
No, because they're fucking yellow and...
No, Benj, they're buff.
They're buff?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I'm just going to move to Custodes. They just look down everyone's nose and... That were they... Oh, there knows it. Everyone, sorry. Oh, that is just. What were they thinking? Are people going to pay money for that?
Yes.
I don't think
You know what? I quite like it. Apart from the
You-
constipated face.
you like that. There's something inherently
I
in Alien.
appreciate that Games Workshop have finally got over themselves enough to start releasing Primarchs, because this is the second, I think, because one of the Demon Princes is out now.
Yeah.
N times 40k.
I'm not.
Shit, we need more money. Quick, print the Primarch button.
I'm not.
It's like when Square Enix go, shit, we're running out of money. Quick, let's re-release Final Fantasy VII.
They're doing the Primarchs, and one of the books apparently is someone heading to Earth to turn off the Golden Throne.
Turn it off.
Yep.
Who's what?
And
No.
to let the Emperor die.
What? That's Girlyman.
I don't know who it is from stuff that I've heard. That is allegedly what's going to happen.
Well, because won't this? That will bring about.
If the Emperor dies, the Star Child can be reborn, and there is hope for humanity and the Eldar.
But it also turns off the beacon, and the whole chaos gets in, and the whole world's fucked.
Yeah.
It turns off the beacon, but if the Star Child is reborn, it does allow humanity to access the webway instead.
There's no good end times. Let's put it like that. In 40K.
I mean, come on. Warhammer Fantasy into Age of Sigmar was the best ending ever.
Oh, the Age of Sigmar was basically just sorry, we killed everything. Do whatever fluff you want. We don't care.
By the way, Sigmar rage quit. Then he decided, "Fuck this, I'm back."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because he didn't like what was the alternative to
Anyway.
that stage?
I feel at this point we should probably end the podcast.
A bit like the Elder. We should just probably end.
End the podcast and the Eldar. Amazing.
A bit like SmogCon.
Actually, as well, one of the Eldar craft worlds is gone.
What was it? Bieltan?
It's either Riandan or Bieltan has gone.
Oh, okay. Dawn of War 3's out soon, by the way.
A couple of my friends got some hands-on this weekend while we're at SmogCon, because PC Gamer Weekend was there. I've not caught up with them yet. All I got was a text message saying, "Fucking awesome."
Having seen an hour and a half of that game, it looks to address 99% of what I despised about Dawn of War 2.
I mean,
and gives you an Imperial Knight on top. I'm fine with this.
I get to live my Imperial Knight fantasy where I belong to some sort of noble house and my blood is worth a damn, and I ride a big robot into battle. It's almost anime-like.
I was about to say, so Voltron then.
Yeah.
This is the point. I do need to buy some Imperial Knights for my epic army.
And then
But that's for another day.
Well, I just need someone to say, "Get in the damn robot bench," and preferably.
But the thing is, because you'd want to go in the robot, you would be killed in the first episode.
Just fire up Overwatch instead of Hearthstone, right?
No, I hate Overwatch. I'm done with Overwatch.
Right, time to end the podcast.
The contrary, the whole podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously. I'm Alex.
I'm Nick.
I'll be Mike.
I'm Ben.
Say goodbye, Nick.
Go on, Nick.
Bye. There we go.
That was a podcast.
Yes, it certainly was.
What else could it have been?
It was certainly a podcast, about 20% of which at the end was Games Workshop.
I mean, but do we genuinely have an issue with talking about other games like that?
No, not really.
I thought we had actually moved into a point now where we kind of accepted that that's what it's going to be like.
I was looking at Kozlov reference pictures and that popped up.
What?
That popped up in Google image search.
Right. I'm going to paste this into the YouTube chat because some people are undoubtedly still watching. So this is the Kozlov reference that Ben just found. That's
it's not even Kozlov. It's fucking
Harkovich and
Zakova. Oh, did you see the Zakova Dallas had? Oh, that was the best model he had in that bag. The original terrible sculpt Zakova with the ice cream.
I just remembered what I wanted to talk about on the podcast.
It wasn't a bad sculpt. I liked it.
Why?
I wanted to talk about the fact that they at SmogCon they said that they might be killing some more characters off.
Like who? they've killed is the one in the middle of the Black 13th.
They killed one of the Black 13th off. They killed Mordecai off. It looks as though Sevi's going to be dying.
Mordecai's coming back.
But have you seen the picture for that Menoth book?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And they said he's definitely not giving him a hug.
I don't like Sevi though. I don't like
It's going to open up a lot of interesting things if they're happy to start killing off their own characters. Because as long as they don't go fucking George R.R. Martin on it, but the fact that they're willing to do that can definitely lead to some more interesting fluff points and maybe open up space for other characters.
I just don't like the fact that in the last couple of books actually I do like this because Krios is getting his sort of soul back. He wanted to go save Durst in the middle of that firefight. And fucking Sevi was standing on the hill going, no. And then at the end he relented and went, yes, you may go. It's everyone.
That Warhound colourful enough for you, Nick, by the way.
Everyone is currently at this stage getting a bit pissed off with the preachy Menoth part. Even the exemplar hierarchy. And people are still revering the paladins. Vilmon's got a high place next to Floaty Bint, and
if they do a Menoth civil war, it could just be really interesting because they've resolved the Signar civil war now. So we start on the Menoth civil war, right? And then the Cadre civil war, and we just basically throw the whole world into fucking turmoil.
Is there going to be a Cadre civil war?
Hasn't the Cadre one been resolved?
I think it might have actually. I can't remember where they were with the fluff.
Vlad got married off and has been given Umbria.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so they did kind of stem that one, didn't they?
Yeah, but didn't
then they could always have that Sorsha gets a bit pissy and goes to assassinate Vlad's wife or something.
Sorsha's already pissy though.
I was going to say if Sorsha gets pissy, Sorsha goes off and makes sure Butcher dies.
Oh, that could also happen. Potentially, I mean, not necessarily. This isn't killing a character, but this is writing your own characters out. We could see Haley ascend. We could see Haley become a scion. It's not a scion, is it? Scions are the Tharamite versions, but the equivalent of a scion of Morrow.
But she was. Isn't her history already defined that she'll end up, with the cock?
No.
I thought that was Haley Future, cock influenced and all that.
She's not necessarily cock influenced. She just has a lot of technology. She isn't in an android skeleton at all.
We don't know how the convergence doesn't get subsumed into Signar.
We don't know what happens with the convergence at all. I mean, there are a small forces thing. They could have they could become part of Signar. That is something that could potentially happen. There could be a non-aggression pact agreement there where they become part of Signar and are left in their peace to do their own thing.
They'd already work with Nemo.
You would hope that in the future, though, that people would realise what their warjacks do. Maybe they'll finally let people in on the secret of what the Dongulator does and what. Even though it's written down somewhere, nobody can be asked to fathom it out because they all look fucking stupid.
But yeah, I mean, it could be really interesting to see what they do with them. I do think that this is a good thing that they're embracing the ability to kill their own characters.
No, I didn't say that. I just that it wasn't. It was just I want these stories to develop, and this is why I see the Grimkin as the biggest positive, is because that is an old storyline. The Baba Yaga thing, it's moving the story.
This is why I got a bit aggressive earlier with the Old Witch 2, Old Witch 3 thing. It's because Old Witch cannot go back to Cadre now. Now that she's opened the gate and revealed her truth.
That wasn't necessarily what was said at the seminar.
No.
Okay.
The what was said was that even after she's brought the Defiers into the world, Cadre may take them as a necessary evil to keep the Old Witch on side.
So someone
that's interesting.
And Will did say, when someone pointed out what would the Empress say to this, she said doesn't necessarily know what she's doing.
Fair enough. I mean, there's some really fluffy things we didn't talk about in the Grimkin stuff that I like the idea of the woman that the old witch uses to communicate with the Defilers.
The woman from the mental asylum.
That she's so revered by the Grimkin now.
Was it Lady
for helping-
Kiriana?
Yeah, she's so
If
revered.
she dies, the entire army
gets a bonus for the turn. It's insane. It's such a crazy idea, but so cool at the same time.
I actually quite like Lord Longfellow.
He's the spider in the suit, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he's awesome as well. With the extra dice against characters. By the way, Warcasters are characters.
And extra dice against damage models.
And damage model. Yes, finisher. That's just finisher.
Yes. So that's the idea is like, okay, I've hit your caster. Right, that's 4 dice. What?
I've hit your Warjack. Character fucking Warjack.
Yes, I've hit Ruin. That's 4 dice.
Yeah.
And now my second shot.
It's like
apparently they did toy with him having 8 shots at one point until they realized that was a terrible idea.
Well, the whole do you know the background behind him?
He's a creepy spider thing who travels to big balls and parties and threatens nobles that are questionable, normally evil, with the right, you can duel me and lose and die, or I'm going to kill everybody in this ballroom.
And you get blamed for it, yeah. And you've got no defense.
Yeah. And oh god, what were I can't remember what the crow ones were.
The character unit of 2 that replicate each other.
I don't know. They're sort of they're like plague doctor looking things.
I've
I've quite forgotten the name.
Okay.
They were interesting. The fact that if you are the corrupt leader of a town, you'll start seeing them sort of perched on eaves and on lampposts, and that's your signal to either confess your crimes and hang yourself in the town square, or have them descend upon you, rip you to pieces, and reassemble you as one of them.
The Grimkin are so cool thematically. They're like the more nightmarish version of Nightmare Before Christmas.
They are creepypasta the faction.
They remind me of American folk tales,
which is what they're based on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of that kind of thing. And they legitimately have a model in their army that is a giant piñata.
Yeah.
Yes, the Titan piñata.
Titan piñata that has annoyance, and when it explodes, it does something in the area. I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
It's annoying. It's great.
But yes, the 3 sizes of Phantasm.
Enemy upkeeps within 8 inches expire.
Just
I'm going to say it's not necessarily a model; it's a kind of a marker more than anything, isn't it?
Well, no,
it's a model.
It's a
large base model,
and it's got bulldoze, so you can. They don't as far as we know, because we don't have the full rules for them. As far as we know, they don't come with attacks or anything. They just come with things that really frustrate you. So that when it's destroyed, upkeeps go away within 8. It's got bulldoze, and they all have annoyance. Annoyance is obviously a little bit of a pain. The medium based model one is an arc node for her, and the small based one has mark target. I think that one does have a gun in order to use mark target, but yeah. They're things that aren't going to break the game by them appearing, but they mess with your army.
They're part of the dreamer's shtick, aren't they?
Yeah, because it's her changing reality.
Yeah. And that's it. It's when you kill a model, you can make one of the phantasms appear, isn't it?
Spend a fury to make a phantasm, make the model that's been being got rid of turn into one of these phantasms, and it's based on the model you destroy's base size as to what it becomes. The thing that I can see with the Dreamer that's potentially going to be frustrating for a lot of players is her base attack is an influence gun. So she has lots of messing with your stuff, and obviously, as we saw with Haley 2, people don't like you messing with their stuff.
Don't touch my shit.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what one of the fallacies is about wargaming whenever you're trying to explain wargaming to someone? Isn't there always somebody that goes, so if you beat somebody else's army, do you get to keep them? You know, that question has been asked of me so many times.
I've never had that question.
Are you really?
Really?
Really? You've never
Never
had that question?
No.
get asked that so many times, and I'm just like, you are, mate. We pay money for these. Could you imagine giving these models away?
I've genuinely never been asked that.
Oh, I can't believe that. Okay, fine. Must
I've never been asked that either.
Wow.
I have been.
Oh, thanks.
Must be just you guys. Look like you're dodgy.
All right.
Yeah.
We're real friends, but
Oh.
Right. I think it's time that we actually start the broadcast now. So thank you very much to people who've listened in.
I've been Alex.
Yes, you have.
I'm not going to partake.
We'll keep trying to publicise these and actually look at the YouTube chat more in future. So
There's a chat.
I mean,
yeah,
we just recorded what we did. We recorded one 2 weeks ago and recorded one now. Does that mean we're recording in 2 more weeks, or are we recording next week?
No, we should record next week as it's on schedule. This was just kind of a.
I'm going to start screaming in a second. It won't
Why?
be pleasant for any of you.
Why?
There's a reason we stopped recording every other week.
Why?
Because of his editing.
It was driving me mad.
All right, we can do like a 5.
We're supposed to be scheduled for the 1st. Are we going on the 8th, or are we going on the 15th, or the 22nd of March, or maybe the 29th of March? Because it's not 29th.
I'll see how I feel once this has been published.
You're gonna feel great.
I mean, Welsh Masters is what, the 10th, 11th. So that's in like 2 weeks. Maybe the week after that works quite well.
What?
May. The Welsh Masters
Oh
is
Jesus, is it?
No,
it
it's
May?
not. It's May.
Why don't?
May.
What's in March?
Don't do that.
God, for
What's in
that.
March? What do I think's in March?
I don't know.
I've got the 10th and the 13th of March booked off for Welsh Masters.
Done fucked up there.
Well,
I'm-
shit.
I'm going to have to check what I've got booked off now.
No, don't worry, Mike. It is not next.
No,
In the next couple of weeks.
March I've only got an anime convention booked off. That's fine.
Just
That's-
one anime convention.
Yes, I'm going to MinamiCon. It's a lovely little convention in Southampton, where
like-
I will be.
It's like a £10 train journey to Southampton. It's great.
I will be advertising my anime convention there.
Hibanacon. I'm amazed you've not
Yes.
used Elite Cadre as a platform.
I have occasionally. I've mentioned hibanacon.co.uk for a reasonably priced anime convention in Milton Keynes.
He's also been pimping Audible for the last friggin' 3 episodes.
I mean, I remember the
I could
days
get a
when
sponsor
podcasts-
link from them.
I was about to say,
Why don't
I remember the days when Audible used to sponsor every podcast under the sun. So
Oh no, they do still have. They're actually one of the best ones because you don't have to apply for sponsorship with them. You just say, "I want this to be my Audible sponsorship URL," and anyone who uses it gets money for you.
that's pretty cool.
I don't want money. I just want free audiobooks.
I mean, I'll sell for free audio credits as well.
You don't get those.
Ah,
I mean, to be fair, I've got 14 on my Audible account right now. I have 13 because I used one earlier today.
I've spent like 8 in the last week.
Wow,
So
you get through things far faster than me. Though then again, the books I keep buying are like epic fantasies that then take me a few weeks to get through.
they then are 15 hours each, and yeah.
Well, no, because I've just re-listened to Armada and Ready Player One, and they were both 15 hours each. But I normally,
I've just at your suggestion, I've just bought Ready Player One. So
yes, Ready Player One is a fantastic book. And
the film, isn't it?
What was
anyway, I need a
film,
drink.
yeah, there is a film. There is a film.
Yeah, they are making a
But
film.
the book size I'm normally getting on Audible is 30 to 50 hours. So
Oh, okay, fair enough. Anyway,
Epic.
I need a drink and then to go to bed. So thank you all
night.
for listening and good night. We are off. Tatty bye.